All right. Oh yeah. So Gavin, you're gonna get the first question after this. Welcome everybody. Got a bunch of Pensado students. Got Brad Chapman. Let's see. Got Claudio Cueni. Am I saying it right, bro?
Yeah.
I've been saying it all this time, but you know.
Anyway, man, don't worry about it.
Let's see. He was on Dave Pensado's place, and with Dave and Herb, and he was talking about Coachella and I was like, huh? That was the first time I heard about it. And one of the questions Dave asked was if Fanny knew about it and what she felt. Did you ever get to talk to her or hear anything back about how she felt about whether or not she loved it?
She absolutely loved it. It was such a surreal experience being there, seeing it was like 100,000 people just basically looking at their weed, and I was like, what the fuck did we just smoke? Like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean?
This is good weed.
Well, dude, is that Pac on stage? So no, but she loved it. Nothing gets done pertaining to Tupac without her approval. So the first person and the last person that has to approve it is her. So obviously she knew about it. She approved it. She was involved in the whole process. And I thought it came out great. I thought it did it justice. I thought it was done really tasteful. And but it was hard, man, because I knew about it 8 months before it happened, and of course we couldn't say anything. It was hard not to say anything to anybody, man. Yeah.
Is it still hard not to say anything? I'm trying to slick him, y'all. Is it still hard not to say anything? As in, is there stuff coming? Is there stuff still to come out?
Yeah, there's definitely stuff happening that I can't talk about. There's always NDAs and lawyers and blah 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 blah. But yeah, there's some really cool shit happening. Yeah, the next thing that is going to happen is the movie that's finally happening. So that's exciting.
Yeah, there's. I don't know what I'm supposed to say either. There's all kinds of cool biopics, whatever. What are they called?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff coming out. I'm gonna skip that subject because I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to say. I haven't signed anything, but I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to say. Okay, the Coachella. There was a comment on my Facebook page today about musicians. And whether or not does this help? Is there a way that this will help musicians? Does it harm musicians? Is there a way that this will generate money where musicians can come play? How does it affect musicians from your standpoint?
I don't know if it affects musicians at all. I know there's some development in I think they're doing an Elvis show that they're trying to do in Vegas with holograms and stuff. But I don't know if they're going to be using a live band with it or how, what the parameters for that are. They were trying to do a few things, and nothing really materialized. And I think one of the reasons is it's really expensive to do. One thing I can say, it was literally 7 figures to pull that off for, what was it, 6-minute performance. So to try it, because it was the same, the graphics were done by the same company that did Avatar, the movie, it was the same special effects company. So it was done in a really tasteful and high-end way. So to translate that into an hour show, I feel probably be extremely expensive. So maybe, like I said, the last thing I heard that somebody was doing, it was a Vegas, Elvis thing, with holograms and stuff. But I don't know where they at in development of that or anything like that. As far as, I said, as far as affecting musicians, I don't know. I don't think it does either way. I don't think we're going to start seeing I think we're far away from seeing Jimi Hendrix being back on tour, or or Marvin Gaye or something like that. So
you just disappointed a lot of people. One of my comments was I could see Beethoven, I could see somebody wanting to be in a thing where they actually see and get a feel of Beethoven doing his thing instead of some artist who may be drunk one night or
right.
Or just not be up to par because they just switched out or something. Right. But the image thing, the virtual reality thing, they can control much more. Right. And I was thinking about it if it adds value to a concert to where it's okay, yeah, the concept's okay. Oh, they're going to add virtual reality to it too, and so these bands come, and there's an added value of virtual reality. It's like, hey, maybe more people will come.
I mean, honestly, the first time I saw it, it wasn't even Tupac. It was Gorillaz. Gorillaz did it years before Tupac did the Coachella thing. You know, they had the animated, because that's basically a virtual reality band. And it was done really, really, really well. Yeah. And I love it. They had real musicians on stage, and then they had the cartoon characters, which are the gorillas. They had them as holograms.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Because they aren't real.
At least 3 or 4 years before we did the pop thing.
Okay, who was that? Before we get to Gavin and his bunch of questions, because he's ready for you. Max, what were you saying about repurposing?
I was just kind of curious. You know, there was a whole lot of hope for 5.1 back in the day that, you know, all this content would be repurposed.
Right.
I'm just wondering what your thoughts are as far as repurposing, like some of the old Hendrix movies or things like Woodstock or some of the old musicals, that kind of thing.
That's very interesting. Like, I actually was involved in that a little bit way back in the 90s. I mixed like half of the Boyz II Men 2 album, and that was one of the first albums. It was, I forgot the name of the company, but some company in the late 90s did 5.1 re-releases of records. And the Boyz II Men 2 album, I think, was the first or one of the first albums they did. So they hired, because I mixed the original, they hired me as a consultant. And I don't know what happened to that. Like they did it for a few like really high-end albums. I know they did Dark Side of the Moon. They did some other records, and I loved it. Like to me, I mix a couple of documentaries. They're all mostly like hip hop based, and I've done some like post like mixing. I just did a commercial for JBL, and I love doing 5.1 because it's so creative, having, you know, 6 or 5 speakers in a sub versus just having left and right. And I wish it would come more. Like we do more of that with music. I think what needs to be developed for that to go mainstream, it needs to be able to be done with headphones or earbuds, or there's some kind of algorithms. I don't know. I'm not technically versed for that, but like where you can hear that with headphones, and where it can be distributed as some kind of form of MP3 or something like that. I think if that once that technology happens, I think that's when we're going to go back and remix a lot of catalog in 5.1. We're even, this was about 12 years ago, we were even talking about doing some Tupac stuff in 5.1. But then there's just no market for it. When DVD, I think it was called DVD audio, kind of died, and there was a couple other formats that never took off. Once that was kind of like over with, nobody wanted to spend money on it. You know? But I heard, like I said, I heard the Boyz II Men album in the studio environment in 5.1, and I heard the Dark Side of the Moon album in 5.1 in the studio environment. It blows you away. Like, it makes you listen to music again. Like, that way music doesn't come like like right now, a lot of times music is almost like background noise. I don't know a lot of people actually sit down and listen to music. You usually do something else while you're listening. You either surf the internet or do God knows what while you're listening to music. And like, that kind of forced you, not even forced you, you wanted to listen to the music again. You sat there and you experienced it, and you experienced it in a whole new way, in an amazing way. So I really hope that's coming back.
And Richard, what were you saying about the affecting people who do tribute acts?
Oh, yeah.
You see over there, he says something about it forcing people to be original, and he's for it. I think he was talking about.
Oh, I see this affecting people.
Reality.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I could see that, but you were probably. I don't know. I mean, technology evolves really quickly. I still think we're years away from this becoming affordable, where I can do a 3D animation remake of somebody on my laptop. You know what I mean? Where it kind of becomes GarageBand for holograms. Once it becomes that, then yeah, absolutely. But you probably would only, you know, let's say if you do a Queen tribute band, I don't think you're going to replace the whole band. You probably would just do like Freddie Mercury. They'd still have a live band playing. Probably. I don't know. I mean, otherwise it's kind of like watching a movie or a DVD. You still will want some kind of live element in it. I feel like.
Who
I'm a
all
fan
gets?
of live music, and I do live sound sometimes. That's kind of like, you know, some people go to Hawaii on vacation. I usually do like one tour a year just to get the hell out of LA, and I love doing it. So I'm a big fan of live music. I'm a huge fan of musicians. I don't think nothing turns me on more than great fucking musicians, and I have a lot of good friends that are like A-level, you know, touring musicians, and that is an amazing world to me. I love that.
Who all gets paid when they do the that hologram stuff? As in, like if it like Freddie Mercury, his estate somehow gets paid off of several things, probably. Who
You
all
know
gets
what?
paid?
Honestly, I don't know. That's something you have to ask a lawyer. God knows. I'm sure everybody gets paid. Yeah. It gets really complicated sometimes. Like one thing I can talk about, I was working on the Django Tupac James Brown mashup, and we probably did about 60 versions of that, and it was mainly because of lawyers, because you know the James Brown estate didn't want to do it unless James Brown is heard first on the record, and like, you know, stuff like that. I don't want to go in too deep because there's things I can't talk about, but it can get really complicated really quick if you have an artist that was really big and is not here anymore, and it's lawyers, and lawyers are taking over basically and directing what can be done and what can't be done. That's what I love about the Tupac stuff, because it's still like when Afeni says yes, it will get done. Like it's just up to her. And where a lot of other estates I had to deal with over the years, it's usually like committee, a bunch of lawyers, a bunch of A&R people that are not A&R people anymore, and everybody, you know, it's like feels like they have to put in their input because it's their job security, and it usually hurts the project, you know. And thankfully, we never had that with Pac. It was just always like the only parameter we always have with Tupac was would have Pac liked this. You know, if we did somewhere we felt like Pac wouldn't have did this, and then we stopped doing it. Yeah. But it literally was always the only parameter.
All right, Gavin, you said you had some questions.
Well, my first question is this: how did you get your start in engineering? Like, what made you want to engineer?
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's like my big thing with any engineering.
Right. No, I get it. My story is a little different. I'm originally from Europe. I grew up in Switzerland, and I started out really young playing keys, like doing session keyboard playing work. I was kind of like the first kid on the block that had like an S900, like a sampler, you know, stuff like that. So I was started getting hired to do like drum programming. I was the first person that had an MPC in Europe. So I did a lot of studio work as a session keyboard player, programmer. I did a lot of touring as a session keyboard player. And then Polygram, which at the time was like the biggest label in the world, they hired me to go to New York for a year to basically I was basically their in-house session keyboard player. So whatever bands they would send to New York to record, I'll play the keys on it. You know, I'll kind of be their nanny, like I would take them out at night or whatever. So I did that for a year. I went back to Europe, and after living in New York for a year, I couldn't take Europe anymore. It was too slow for me. So I came to LA only because everybody was like, yo, you want to be in the music industry, you got to go to LA. So I came to LA, didn't know anybody, didn't have a plan. Kind of was like, well, I might as well go check out some studios. Maybe I can get some session work, you know, whatever, because I didn't have any money. I was broke. So one of the first studios I went to go check out was Paramount Recording, and my English was pretty bad at the time. And Mike, one of the owners from Paramount, showed me around, and for some reason he thought I was an engineer. And he was like, "Are you looking for a gig?" And I was thinking, like, you know, cleaning the toilets or whatever. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm definitely looking for a gig." And so, make a long story short, he hired me because he thought I was an engineer. And he was like, take a week, come in late at night, learn the rooms. After a week, we give you a client. If it works out, great. If not, no love lost. So this was in '91. So this was a typical, Paramount was like the place where everybody at the time cut their demos. Because it was because this was before home studios, but this was before computers. You needed a studio to go to the record. So this guy came in with a cassette that he had a beat on, a rapper. And the cassette looked like a fucking dog pissed on it. And he wanted me to take the beat that was on the cassette, put it on the 2-inch, and then record him, and then mix everything back down to the cassette. Now, I put the cassette in. The cassette was more his than music. It was terrible quality, but it was a super simple beat. It was literally like a kick snare and like a Rhodes, DX7 Rhodes part and like a bass line. And I was like, dude, I can recreate this in 10 minutes. It will sound way better than the cassette. And, you know, while he's rolling a blunt, I was like, yeah, do whatever you need to do. So I redid the beat because they had a couple of keyboards at the studio. Somehow recorded that. Somehow, I mean, I spent enough time in studios to know how to record, but that was about it. You know, got it mixed on the cassette. And because, which has nothing to do with engineering, but because I was able to redo the beat and make it sound way better than what he had on the cassette, he went to the studio owner the next day when he paid the bill and was like, Claudio is the dopest engineer I've ever worked with. And that's how I got hired. And I was working at Paramount for a year doing everything. I mean, it was mainly demos. Like I cut Brandy's demos that got her signed. A lot of people ended up getting signed from demos that I cut. Like Immature, I was working with them. Like a lot of like 90s R&B and hip hop stuff. I was also, because I was the new guy there, I would get all the hardcore hip hop session because the other engineers were scared. They didn't want to do it. So I was working with like South Central Cartel and people like that. And I loved it. I was green. I didn't know any better. When people would come to the studio and put their guns on the fucking console, I was like, well, it's LA. Everybody's packing. It's normal. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't tripping over that. So they like me because, oh, white boy cool, you're not tripping, you know? And so, yeah, I kind of got a little reputation as the hip-hop guy, and I kind of just learned on the job. Like, I remember first time I did automation on the SSL, I had the manual under the board, like, what button do I need to press next? Like it was literally like that. Like, Paramount was my school. I worked there for a little over a year. And then some of the people I worked with ended up getting deals, and they started calling me to work on their records, and snowballed from there.
Okay, now my soul is tripping. But how'd you eventually get to meet Tupac?
Here's the thing with Tupac. I actually never worked with him while he was alive, but I was always around him. After I stopped working, or after I became an independent engineer, I pretty much lived at Larrabee. I probably worked there for like 10 years straight. And I would always be either in Studio B at West or Studio 1 at North. And usually Death Row would have the other studio. They'd be in A or in Studio 2 at North. So I would always be around them. I always see Pac, I see Snoop, I see Suge. And Suge always wanted me to work for them. The problem was, the day before, I just saw an engineer get pistol whipped because he missed a punch in. I was like, I ain't working for these motherfuckers. I don't want to get beat up. You know? So I would always be like, man, Suge, I would love to, but I just got this like 8 months project, man. Like, you know, we'll talk after. Like, I would always talk my way out of it. So me and Suge were always cool because I never worked with him. But I would see, man, like you could, even me being in next door, like when Pac was in the studio, there'd be literally 5 or 6 people doing beats. Like, there'd be a motherfucker in the lobby, there'd be a dude in the lounge, there'd be a dude in the kitchen, there'd be a dude, like literally, like, all over the studio be people making beats for Pac, and Pac would come out the room once an hour and be like, who got a beat? Who got a beat? I'm ready. You know? Some of the tapes I have with Pac, like, he literally recorded 3 different songs to the same beat because he didn't have any beats to record to. So there's literally 3 completely different songs.
So he was that hungry when he was making records.
Man, like that guy, he cut 10 songs in a day.
Good night. And how'd you transition to doing like television and film work?
Just actually the same guy that ended up hooking me up with Pac, QD3, who's Quincy Jones' son, and QD produced a bunch of like Pac and Cube stuff back in the day, and he's a great guy and a great friend of mine. When they were working on the first Tupac album after he died, he was working with a different engineer, and it just didn't click. And he called me. I remember him calling me at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I literally just got home from like a 2-day session, so the last thing I wanted to do was go to another studio. And he called me like 3 times in a row until I finally answered the phone. And he was like, dude, I need you. I need you to come to the studio. I was like, man, I just got home for 2 days. I'm tired. I can't even stay awake. Man, can we do this another day? He was like, dude, I'm working on Pac. I was like, okay, where you at? I'll be right there. So I was working with him on the Pac stuff, and that ended up turning into, you know, now 14 years worth of work. But he also later on started producing like the Beef series, and he did like a documentary called Letter to the President. That was actually the first thing I worked on for him. And they were mixing it with like a regular like post guy, and he was like, no, I don't want it to sound like a regular movie. I want it to sound like hip hop. So he called me, and I had I didn't know anything about 5-1 or anything like that. So I just jumped in. I was like, hey, I can try it. If it comes out great, great. If not, whatever. Use somebody else.
So it's basically every time you stepped in a situation, it wasn't like, oh, I got the knowledge, but I'm willing to get that pressure to where I got to learn ASAP.
I was always like, look, I'll try my best, and if it doesn't work, we'll find somebody else that can do it. Yeah, but I was always like, I guess I wasn't scared. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And always, like we've done sessions where we literally didn't leave the studio for 6 days and sleep like an hour a day on the couch and take showers at the studio. Like you can't be afraid of work, but you also can't be afraid of the work. Like you just gotta do it, And like I said, there's plenty of times I failed too. Don't get me wrong, but you can't be afraid of that.
Yeah, I just moved to New Orleans, and I went to all the studios like 2-3 days ago, and there's certain studios that they're up, but you can't find a way to get in or call. You don't know what number. Like I've been trying to find session work because I play guitar and bass, but I've never just been a session musician, and I'm trying to tap into that, but I don't know exactly how to go about doing it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know the scene in New Orleans. Like it's probably pretty close knit. It's kind of in LA too. Like I always encounter pretty much the same musicians. And that's how I became friends with them because when you use session musicians, I was, the same 3 guitar players or the same 2 or 3 bass players or 5 drummers that I know. So you always kind of run into the same people. But to break into it, man, I don't know. I almost feel like you have to go to a bigger market. Like you have to go to either LA, probably LA these days, or Atlanta, Miami.
I just moved here from Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Atlanta scene isn't as big as it used to be, and probably not that good for live musicians anymore. LA got a lot of shit going on, I gotta say. There's a lot.
My main goal is to come out to LA a lot next year.
A whole new generation of musicians, like young, like early 20s musicians that are absolutely incredible and do absolutely incredible work. Like some of the new artists I'm working with, man, they will totally fucking blow you away how good they are. Like I'm friends with a few guys that are in Stevie Wonder's band, and they're guys from New Orleans. Yeah. Well, from some of them are from Memphis, some of them from New Orleans, but they're like they're in their 20s and they kill it. Like Stanley, the drummer, is crazy. Yeah. So anyway, come to LA.
Oh, definitely. So whenever you worked with on the Django project, was you on set when you did it, or you just did it you mixed it in your own studio?
That I mix in my own set. I do 99% of my work at my spot right here.
Okay.
Which actually, I can show you. It's like basically part of my living room. I am building a studio right now. It's like a studio.
Mm-hmm.
But everything I've done in the last 8 years, pretty much.
What keyboards is that over there?
This is an old Yamaha KX88, the master keyboard. It's still it was like the first MIDI keyboard ever made, and to me, it's still the best one.
So you liking that MPC Renaissance?
Oh, loving that thing. I had MPC since I had a prototype MPC. I had MPC since 1988. I had every MPC ever made, and this is definitely my favorite one.
Yeah, my friend, he's given me a MPC 4000. I don't because it's just collecting dust, and I was like, okay, bro, if you ain't gonna do nothing with it, I need that.
Take it, learn it, make it your bitch.
Yeah, I keep meeting people that have MPCs for no reason. They just buy them and just sit them somewhere. And my friend had an MPC 2500, and he let me use it for like a weekend, and he was mad because I was learning it, so he took it back. but that's what's up.
Cool.
Cause yeah, I'm definitely I know New Orleans, it's a bunch of film stuff going on, and I got my first IMDb film credit. I got to mix a short film, so I'm definitely trying to tap into that more often. But I'm trying to see if there's like any conferences or anything like that, or is it just strictly relationship driven to get those opportunities?
I feel like in LA, it's probably relationship. It's like being here and trying to get into the scene, and like, you know, if you're a live musician, I would start playing with some of the artists out here, because everybody's always looking for musicians, and you know, people will, if you're good, people will notice you. Even how you think there's a million great guitar players in LA, there's not. I always use the same three motherfuckers. You know what I mean? So.
Gotcha. That makes sense, though. I mean, once you got who you need, or if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right, but still, like I said, it's not. There's work out here for people that are really good.
So, what was your most like memorable session that you had? I mean, like it was just the best session you ever had. And with what artist?
Okay, I got two that come to my mind right now. One was actually fairly recent. I got called, and that's kind of not typical for me. I usually don't get those sessions, but I got called to record drums with J.R. Robinson. And J.R. played on Thriller. He played on, you know, like all like Michael stuff. He played probably on 50% of the songs that came out in the 80s. He played on the last Daft Punk album. And he's definitely one of my favorite drummers in the world. And I never had a chance to work with him. So I got a chance. They hired me specifically to record him at Ocean Way Studio One, which is one of the dopest studios in the world. So that was a good day. And
is that the one that mimicked the plug-in after?
Huh?
Is that the one that? Okay.
Exactly. So I was in that room, and you know, we used like Telefunken 251s as room mics and 67s as tom-tom mics, and like, you know, crazy. I probably had a couple $100,000 worth of microphones out there. We had the big Focusrite board. That's where we recorded it to, and it was one song for some Korean artist, and you know, we cut it in probably like 40 minutes. But then he was telling stories for about 3 hours, you know, about Michael and a bunch of other shit, man, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Do you remember anything, like any of the stories that he told you that not too many people know about?
Yeah, but I don't know if I should tell him. You guys should hang out with him.
I feel you on that. I feel you. Did you do like are you big on using a bunch of mics when you tracking drums, or do you use like the Glenn Johns method?
Really depends. First of all, it depends if I'm going to be mixing it or not. If I'm going to be mixing it, it's going to be less mics because I know what I want it to sound like later on.
And if you're not mixing it, you like, fuck it, I don't care. No.
No, not mixing it. I'll try to give whoever's mixing it as many options as possible.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'll probably use 2 mics in the top of the snare, which I normally wouldn't do. I'll probably use a lot more room mics, close and far, and like a mono room. Probably a mic behind the drummer. And then it depends on the style of music too. There's rock sessions that I did where I literally used 4 mics, and it was an amazing drum sounds. And there's other sessions I did where I used 30 mics, and it was an amazing drum sounds. It's depending on the style too. Okay. But honestly, 90% of the sound is the drummer. You know, it's just like any instrument. Like the most apparent to me is when it comes to bass. I know bass players, they can play a shitty $200 Squier bass into a DI straight into the computer, and it sounds fucking amazing.
Hey man, get off Squier, man. That's what I got.
And hey, I got a $100 Yamaha sitting right here. It's the same shit.
Man.
And there's other bass players that have, you know, vintage equipment and God knows what and all this shit, and it sounds like shit. Like bass players, to me, it's all in the fingers. Yeah, that's where the sound comes from. And same with guitar players, same with drummers.
Did you get to work with a lot of rap sessions where you got to do like work with some live musicians, like come in and work on the record?
Not necessarily rap, more R&B stuff. Like I worked on Anthony Hamilton's first album. I mixed some of that, or mixed most of that, and recorded some of it. And we had like Quest come in and record drums and shit like that. That was pretty amazing. While we were mixing, like we literally were having shit while we were mixing. It was great. I produced, which was kind of different for the time. I produced a Doug Mansion with Pac and Nas, which was acoustic guitar and then.
Yeah. That was a dope record.
It was Michael Fish Herring played, like he used to be Prince's guitar player. Like he played guitar on that.
So that was him playing that riff.
Right. So that was live instrumentation for a rap song. But usually, no. I wish there was more. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of live.
Yeah, 'cause I know like cats like Dre and Kendrick Lamar, majority of their production is. Yeah. Well, I know To Pimp a Butterfly, majority of that was all live instrumentation. That's why I figured.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, and then on those records are freaking amazing. Yeah.
Cause I know the West Coast do more live instrumentation than any other place.
Fucking genius. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. That's why I'm so West Coast driven. Is like because the production out there versus anywhere else is they always incorporate live musicians.
Right.
Yeah, and so does New Orleans. I've been noticing that too. Like they always got live musicians, and they're more traditional when it comes to like drum programming. Everybody got drum machines. Like everybody has an 808. I've never seen a real 808 until I moved here.
No. Yeah. No, New Orleans has amazing musicians. I mean, the whole music scene there is absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Oh, most definitely, especially like on Frenchman Street.
Right.
Like, as soon as you walk on the street, every single different venue next door to each other is a whole different genre of music. And I was like, I need to bring my bass down here and play. And as soon as I said that, I walked outside of a venue. It's like 30 bass players walking down the street trying to find a gig. I'm just like, oh my god.
That's funny.
But what was it like? So what do you prefer, like strictly hip hop? Or like R&B, like what's your favorite genre to play in?
I don't like I do everything across the field. I mean, I work, I've been blessed, man. Like I work with rock bands, I did country, like I worked with Leanne Rimes. I do everything across the board, and I still do. And I feel like that's what keeps it interesting. I think if I was only do strictly, well, I mean, I'm known for the hip hop stuff because of Pac and Nas and all that, but I'll do plenty of other stuff, and that's what keeps it interesting to me. Yeah, I mean, and to me, it's like I don't even like it could be mariachi music. It doesn't even matter. Like I'll find some in there that I'm gonna love about and make it happen. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I played in a punk band. I didn't get on hip hop till later on in life. Like I was Rancid, Pennywise, NoFX, and all that when I was a kid. So.
Yeah, I mean, I got thrown into it. I didn't know shit about hip hop when I started working on hip hop.
It was just I live with my grandparents, and my cousin used to live there, and he wasn't there no more. And I found his CD collection, and it was nothing but hip hop. So that's how I got on it. And speaking of which, like that's when I first heard Bone Thugs and Harmony. Like, what was that? Did you actually get to work with them, or was it one of those they just sent you the session?
That's actually a funny story. Like when I mixed their album, this was a few years ago. We started. They were still kind of recording while I started mixing. So we were at American Studios in the Valley, and I was in one room. I was supposed to be in one room mixing. They're supposed to be in the other room recording. And they had security there so they wouldn't kill each other. And it was just super...
Wait. They had security for each other?
Yeah, they had security there. So they wouldn't fuck each other up. And it was just like, the environment was crazy. I was there for like 2 or 3 days. I couldn't get anything done because there was 50 motherfuckers in the studio. People fighting. So I took the hard drive. I texted A&R. I was like, I'm taking this shit to my studio to mix. Don't tell anybody where I live. And, just send me files as they become ready. So I ended up mixing at my place. And that was the only way I could get it done.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let some other people talk. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we got Brad's going to have to go pretty soon. He's got clients coming in. He works with singers and preps them preps them for producers.
Okay.
You had said you had mentioned Brandy and Mature and people getting signed after you would do their work with them. What is it that, like, when you're working with the singers, were you actually vocal coaching them, helping them get out that emotion, or what was it? Were you was somebody else doing that?
I Some of them I was doing it, some of them other people were doing it, but I'm not a good vocal coach because I can't sing. And I feel like it's trying to teach somebody how to fly an airplane if you don't know how to fly yourself. What I'm good at is putting people in the right mood or putting them in the right environment, or putting them at ease if they're nervous, or like I'm good at the psychological part of it, but I'm not good at, and I can tell if somebody's flat or sharp, but I can't tell them how to sing or like show them a run or anything like that. But most singers that I worked with, I mean, even Brandy, she was like 11 or 12 at the time. Dude, I mean, that girl was killing it. You know what I mean? Like, basically, you put a microphone in front of her and you hit record. Like most people that I worked with, I can't work with singers that are not really, really good. When they're really, really good, I'm really, really good recording them. But if they're not, I have other people I literally send them to because I can't. A, I don't have the patience, and B, I don't have, like I said, I don't have any vocal skills. So I can't sit here and like, yo, sing it like this. You know what I mean? So I can't do that, and it's not an enjoyable part for me. So if it's not fun for me, I don't want to really do it. But great singers, I love recording. Honestly, the last few projects I did, we literally put the same, because I'm building a studio and we got the vocal booth up. I literally put them in there with a laptop and be like, record yourself. And I leave the studio, and honestly, those are the best vocals I've got out of people, because they totally, teach somebody Pro Tools how to record takes 15 minutes. And once it is discovered that, oh my God, I have all this freedom, nobody's judging me, you get incredible vocals out of people. But like I said, that only works with people that can really, really sing.
So what kinds of things do you do to make them more comfortable?
It's just usually the way I approach them or talk to them. Mm-hmm. Like, it's more of like, yo, doesn't matter how much time it takes, like, take your time, if you need anything, making tea for them, maybe putting a couple of candles in the booth, like very simple things. But mainly, I think the main ingredients is how do you approach them and how do you talk to them? How do you talk to them?
So what kinds of things do you say?
It really depends on the singer. Like it's an interaction. So I couldn't tell you anything specific right now, but like it's just putting them at ease. Okay.
Well, I really appreciate you trying. And trying to come up with things, because I work for producers, so anytime a producer can give me a golden jewel, then I've got it for them later on.
I want to sit in front of my gold records. Sorry.
Oh, okay, all right, that's fair.
Nice, by the way.
Okay, you guys go ahead. Thanks, man.
No problem.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. Now, you said...
I want to add one more thing to that.
Oh, go ahead.
Very, very important. Headphone sound. I think a big part of it is if you want to make a vocalist sound comfortable, make sure that their headphones sound incredible. Use really good headphones, and make sure the vocals they hear sound like they're basically mixed. Not too much effects, not too much like reverb and stuff like that, because that will take away from judging how good the performance is. But just like EQ wise, definitely add a little compression. Just make it really, make it sound like a record in their head. And I think that helps a lot, because then you're like, oh my God, I sound good, versus my vocals are distorted and I can't hear myself.
Now, you're right. Since '79, I've always had my clients on headphones when I work with them. Yeah. So when they go to the studio, they already have a pretty good idea of what's
Great.
happening. Yeah. The ones that complain, they say, well, every time I go in the studio, I sound terrible. I say, well, how often do you wear headphones? And, how often do you practice in the studio? And they say, oh, maybe, only when I go in and record. I said, well, we've got to get you more comfortable so that the producer will love you, and then you'll love them back.
And also, sometimes you got to do the opposite. Sometimes I've done that where we put a monitor wedge and no headphones, and sometimes even a handheld mic. Because at the end of the day, people are not going to buy the record because you used Tube 47 on the vocals. They're gonna buy the record if it's a great performance, you know, and if that means they're holding a handheld Shure 58 and half the monitor is blaring, oh well. After that, it's my job to make it work. Yeah.
That's great attitude.
Whatever it takes. I always feel like I always try to get out of the musicians or out of the performer's way. Like let's take technology out of the equation as much as possible and just make you comfortable.
Performance is everything. That's what Dave Pensato said to me the other day.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I'm sure other people have questions now.
Okay, so all you basically have to do is Jedi mind tricks on them because these singers are awesome. What was it, Richard? Unmute yourself. You said you had a question for him?
Yeah, does that, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was wondering about vocal processing. When you're processing people's vocals, do you find yourself more often than not now doing, you know, like for let's say a lead vocal? I know sometimes when you're doing like background vocals and stuff, you got a whole bunch of stereo stuff going on, but the lead vocal that you got going down the middle, do you find yourself doing a lot of like different takes where they're like hugely stacked to get that main lead vocal, to get that depth or whatever, or do you find yourself taking the main vocal and then doing copies of it and then doing like processing on those individual copies more?
No, I actually don't do any of that. I try to keep it as simple as possible, because usually the simple way is the best. Like,
I mean, that's how I find it to be that way. Simpler is easier.
Right. You know, like if there are doubles recorded to the lead that are supposed to be there, obviously I use them. But if it's just most of like it is most of the time, like a single lead vocals and then maybe some backgrounds throughout the verses or whatever, or ad libs, I'm super simple, man. Like I usually use 2, maybe 3 EQs. Usually the main one is the first thing I always do is notch out stuff that I don't like in the sound. Like I'll literally sweep through it and probably do 5, 6 notches of not super deep, like maybe 2 or 3, usually around 2 dBs of just frequencies that are harsh or whatever. And that usually gets me halfway there. And then I use another EQ to kind of shape the overall sound. Like we need more highs. So.
Well, yeah, I guess that's another related question, and then I'll get off of here because you got all kinds of other cool stuff you're talking about.
No, it's all good.
But when you're looking at this is something I've noticed just in the past like 5 years maybe or so, as I've been getting more into engineering and really looking at how the frequency spectrum falls onto stuff, or the EQ slope on records. I find now it seems like there's even less bass. It seems like the mixers are getting a lot brighter in a lot of modern production stuff, because I guess people have, you know, extra bass systems, so that goes off and then reamps that bass side of stuff when they get into their consumer stuff. But do you find yourself making vocals a lot brighter than you used to? No,
actually not. Since I feel like back in the analog days we made them brighter than they are now. Like it was because they were kind of smoother to begin with, because it was recorded on tape and usually recorded fully analog. And now in the digital world, it's more so controlling the sound. It's more so controlling the highs and controlling the and if the song calls for a bright vocal, yeah, I'll make it bright. You know, for me, it's always like what the song's calling for, what the arrangement is calling for. Sometimes I distort the shit out of a vocal because it fits the song. You know what I mean? Like, it really, really depends. I don't think the trend is going for brighter vocals. There's definitely songs where I have bright vocals because that's what it needed to cut through the arrangement or cut through whatever else was there.
That makes sense.
But I usually I'm more of a like smooth, warmer type of vocal sound. But you know, it's interesting. Like there's guys out there like, oh, you got to use a 47, you got to use an Eve mic pre. We just got an EP with this artist called Tiffany Boucher. Actually, drops next week. She's absolutely amazing, and she cut a vocal in my booth with a Mojave mic and a Scarlett, straight into the Scarlett interface. And we actually have an LA2A in there and all the other shit, but she was in there by herself, she hooked it up, she recorded. And I mixed it, and I swear this is one of the best vocal sounds I ever got. You know, and we used $1,500 worth of equipment. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
So I don't think it's always like you have to. Like people get anxious about it because they own gear slots and read, oh, I gotta have an Eve mic pre. Like I love. Don't get me wrong. I love having an Eve mic pre, and I have one, and I love recording on big consoles and shit. But it's not. It's really not necessary anymore, man. Like the shit we get, like the stuff we get built into even cheap interfaces is really incredible, and I think people like overlook that a lot of times.
All right, Richard, I guess you're done. You guys, when you're asking questions, if you notice, Gavin asked a whole bunch. You're not going to have too many times with Claudio, so y'all better get him in. If y'all got him, don't be playing shy.
Yeah, I mean, and you can always hit me up on Facebook too. I might take a day to respond, but you know, I'm always open for something. Not a problem.
Oh, that's good. I was just saying thanks. That's all I really had to ask. I'm cool.
Okay. All right, bro. Just letting you know you're welcome to ask. Max, you're next. What's cracking?
Just kind of curious. You know, we know that a big part of our gig is herding kittens. I was just wondering how much effort do you find that you're putting into actually getting to know the singer or the artist that you're working with? I mean, is it strictly a professional thing, or do you?
No, great question. The best work I do with people I know really well. Absolutely. You know, like if obviously, especially when I'm mixing, and 95% of my thing is mixing. The more I know their personality, the more I can get into their head. The better the mixes are, absolutely. And I do become friends with a lot of people that I work with. Yeah, it's just kind of natural because you work closely together and you work on delivering their baby. Like, you know, like that's another thing I think a lot of young guys don't realize, that we're a service industry. If I'm working for an artist, so I'm here to fulfill their vision. It's not about what I want. And if the artist wants the kick on the left and the snare on the right, it's not for me to argue that that's wrong. It's for me to figure out how to make that work. And I feel like that's very, very important. I feel like that's how I have a lot of strong, like most of the clients I have for over 10 years. And I feel like those are relationships we build because it is mutual respect and it is understanding how important this is to them. Because they live with those songs for the rest of their lives. So I'll move on to the next project. You know, but they literally, like, this is their calling card for the rest of their life. They live with that for the rest of their lives. That's how important it is to them. And I feel like a lot, especially younger engineers, don't really realize that. It's kind of like, oh, you know, I'm the shit, doing it my way, forget it. Yeah, and I definitely feel like that's the wrong approach. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I definitely know a few people. I've got clients like that because other engineers weren't willing to work for the client. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Do you find that there's kind of a common personality trait that you work with best?
One thing's for sure, I work really good with females for some reason. Maybe it has to do because I grew up with my mom and my grandma. Like I grew up in like an all-female environment, and I love working with females, and they seem to love working with me, and I think it has a lot to do because I was, you know, once again, it's a respect thing. It's just because you're female doesn't know you don't know what you want. And same thing with like I love female producers, female engineers. I feel like the industry needs a lot more of that, and there's some really, really talented people coming up. And I love. So it's not. I mean, I've worked with plenty of males too, obviously. I'm not good with assholes because then I become really sarcastic. Like I basically treat people the way they treat me, and you know, I have a really hard time hiding my true feelings about somebody. So if you're a cool dude, you'll know that I feel like you're a cool dude. But if you're an ass, I'm pretty much gonna let you know you're an ass. I'm gonna let you know in a subtle way, but it just comes out. I can't help myself, and I don't care how big the check is. Thankfully, I don't get a lot of those.
You know, I don't get them often, but I tell you what, sometimes you just feel like you want to just throw your hands up and say, just leave.
Right.
You're better off to. Have you ever done that with a client? Send them to somebody?
I fired one client. in 25 years, I fired one client. I told, you know what, get the fuck out of here. I can't do it. Yeah. So that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, even though I might have a client that I know that I'm not going to be able to make happy, with my work, I try and send them to somebody else, so that at least their last memory of me is, okay,
Right.
yeah, you can't get along with him, didn't like what he was doing, blah blah blah, but at least he sent me somewhere where I could get what I needed.
And I mean, honestly, the first thing I try to do if I have somebody that's difficult, I try to kill them with kindness, and 99 out of 100 times that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just be a little extra nice to them and understanding, and they usually, because it's usually just it's not they're idiot or not their assholes by nature. It's an anxiety thing about their project. They're like, oh.
Well, it's their baby.
I've been to 3 different engineers and it still doesn't sound right, and oh my god, and like it's usually stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Claudio, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course. Ask me anything.
First of all, thanks for doing this. This is so cool. I've just been listening. I was wondering, man. I'm in this situation where let's say I can't afford to not get paid for work, but I also want to work with artists that are interesting, So I was wondering, what would be a good approach? Let's say if I was to tell an artist that I want to work with them, what would be a good way of telling them that I want to work with them, but I don't work for free?
Got you. I'll tell you how I approach it, and it's not the perfect answer to your question, unfortunately. I do this a lot because I got into this because I love music, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And fortunately or unfortunately, I fall in love with musicians. Like there's plenty of times like where I worked for free on a project, but on the other hand, what usually happens, or 9 out of 10 times happens, like the project that I did for free, that were passion projects, they ended up going somewhere. They ended up getting signed. They ended up, doing a licensing deal. Something usually happens at the end of the day where I either get paid on the next project, or they go, dude, we just got a $250,000 publishing deal of what you did. Here's a check. You know what I mean? Like it always works out in the end, but that's me. That's me, the happy-go-lucky guy. Like be in the right place, the right time. Like I'm not saying that will work for everybody else, but if you find stuff that you truly believe in, and I understand you need to get paid and you need to make money, but maybe try to do other projects that will pay you that maybe not necessarily like that much, and do a passion project. And if you truly believe in it, it's going to go somewhere. That's the thing. Like all the things I've done, they're literally, I was like, man, I cannot not work on this. Like I have to work on this. This is the kind of music I want to listen to. I totally respect it. Like I'm a fan at this point. I'm a super fan to the point where like, dude, fuck it. Like come to my studio. Let's do this. And like I said, most of the time it works out. Like and sometimes it takes a while. There was one artist, Trevor Wesley, that we've been working with for 7 years. Unbelievable talent. Like this kid is incredible, and he just started getting recognition maybe at the beginning of the year. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes a while, but I'm fortunate to be in the situation where I can afford to do that. Where I have Interscope and Universal that pay my mortgage, and that I can do projects that I absolutely love, and it doesn't matter if I get paid or not, or if I only get paid very little. So I know that doesn't really help you. But there's usually, I mean, if you're good at what you're doing, and if you feel like, hey, I can bring something to the table, talk to them. And here's the thing, like I never do things on spec, because here's the thing, like doing things on, because there's a difference between doing things on spec and doing things for free. things on spec means they approach you like, hey, can you do the song on spec? And if it goes somewhere, blah blah blah, you never get paid, and your work doesn't get appreciated because stuff you get for free, how much do you value it? Yeah. Versus if I approach an artist and go, hey, I love what you're doing, I really want to work with you, this is what I've done in the past, it's not about the money right now, let's fucking take over the world together, then you become partners in crime. And it gets to a point where like one can't be without the other. You know, if you both do incredible work, then there's no reason for them to go to somebody else. And there's no reason for me to want to work with somebody else. So it becomes that thing. And I've been fortunate enough to do that a few times. And I gotta say, like, it almost worked out almost every time. Without even planning it to work out. You know what I mean? Like, you literally just do it for the love of the music, and then it ends up going somewhere.
Do you think it would be a deal breaker, let's say, if I approach someone that I really like, but I just because I don't have a studio, do you think it would be a deal breaker if I asked them, hey, you know, I can, if you hire out the minimum fee for the studio per day, I can engineer for you for, you know, for free. Would this be a?
Oh, look, you can try, and I think that's definitely a viable thing. Like, if you have access to a really good studio and you can get it for a cheap price, you bring in some, and you're like offering yourself on top of it. That's a hell of a deal for the artist. You know what I mean? I wouldn't see why they wouldn't go for it. Like I said, if you feel like you can build a relationship with them, because it really comes down to that. If you feel like, hey, I can really build a relationship with them, and I really feel like their music is so good, something's going to happen with them down the road, then yeah, do whatever you need to do. Yeah, I'm not advocating this, but back in the Paramount days, oh my God, man, we used to like sneak in the studio at 3 o'clock in the morning and bring our own artists in, and you know, record them without Mike and Adam knowing about it. They know about it now. We're laughing about it now, but like back then, like sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Like, if you believe in something that much, you'll find a way. Yeah, and I'm not saying like steal studio time from the studio where you're working at. I don't want you to get fired or anything, but like I said, like sometimes it takes extreme things to get things done.
And then when you do certain things like that, the person you do it for, they'll look out for you and introduce you to other opportunities also.
Right, absolutely. Well, here's the other thing. You have to be careful, because there's people out there that will definitely try to take advantage of you. And don't let them do that. Like, if you feel like this is a motherfucker that's just gonna try to get the most out of me and then he's gonna move on, don't work with him. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to be able to read people. Because obviously it's the music business, and there's a lot of people here in this business that are not nice people.
Oh.
You kind of have to, you have to weed that out. But my experience has been is usually if somebody's really, really talented, they're usually really humble about it, which usually means they're a really good person. Yeah, like they all kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. And usually the people are like, oh, I'm the shit. Those people are usually not that talented, which means I don't really want to work with you anyway.
And why is that though? Like, my last couple of years, like, I'm from Arkansas, and I've been moving around a lot. Like, I've lived in Nashville, Atlanta, now I live in New Orleans, and it's like the most super talented people you meet, and also the most like accomplished people you meet, are the most humbling people you meet.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Dave Pensato. He's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of mixers, and he's he makes me look like an asshole. He's so nice, you know.
Like, I do extra work too. Like, I've been doing I just did Roots, and I was just doing the Tom Cruise movie, Jack Reacher too. Mm-hmm. And Tom Cruise is like one of the coolest people you ever meet. Yeah. But then you meet people that don't have an ounce of talent. Right. But they so fucking cocky, and you be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Absolutely. That's weird. That's so weird to me.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. I don't know what the psychology behind it is. I don't know why people are like that, but they're definitely like that. And especially in LA, they're like that, you know.
But you're absolutely right though. Like, this music industry, you have to really, really weed out people. Like, you have to read people too. Like, I remember when I first started, like, just bootleg, like, recording in the project, recording in people's houses. Like, one dude was like, hey, man, can you teach me how to, I was using Kool-Aid Pro, and he was like, can you teach me how to use Kool-Aid Pro? And I was like 18, like, I'm 28, and I was like, I told him straight up, I was like, honestly, bro, if I teach you how to use Kool-Aid Pro, you won't have no use for me no more. Like, that's cutting my neck off. Like, I'm your go-to for recording this, that, and the third. Right. And if I teach you what I'm mainly good at, then you ain't gonna need me no more. Then you're gonna cut into my business and try to take everything I got going on in this town. You know what I'm saying?
I agree to that to a point. I feel like if you're really good at what you're doing, can nobody take that from you? Like, I don't care, man. Like, I will. Yeah. Like, I will give people like I've done this before. I will give people like my mixing session so you can see exactly what I did, what plugins I used, blah blah blah. Because at the end of the day, if you're as good as me or better than me, then you deserve
what you're gonna get. Yeah.
Then you deserve the work you're gonna get. And if you're not as good as me, you're not gonna get my work.
Oh no, I mean it took me years to learn that. I'm just saying, like when you was talking about.
I'm saying what you're saying too.
Like people using you to get what they can get up out of you and then stop messing with you. That's what I was referring to.
I mean, I learned that from Dave. Like I used to work, like I said, I pretty much lived at Larrabee. And I used to work at Enterprise, and Dave Pensado used to be across the hall from me at Enterprise, and I could literally walk into his studio anytime I wanted. And he would, what he does on the show, he would break down for me, like I walk in, he'd be working on Christina Aguilera, and I go, Dave, these vocals, holy shit, how did you get it to sound like this? And he'll take 45 minutes out of his day just to tell me and show me how he got that vocal sound.
Hey, you know, that's crazy. That's how I ended up going to school.
You know, and that generosity, like, and I was the guy working in the room next door. I was basically his competition. I'm nowhere near as good as him. But at the end of the day, I'm his competition, and he took, like I said, he took 45 minutes out of his day to show me how he got that vocal sound to sound like that. And that generosity, like, taught me a lot. You know what I mean? I was like, you know what? He's right, because Christina is not going to come to me because Dave is doing an incredible job. So why would she? You know what I mean? Like,
but yeah, that's how I ended up going to school.
I'll give you another example. Manny assisted me for 2 sessions, way back in the day, right? And I was like, dude, why the fuck are you assisting? You already better than me. Like, he was setting up the session for me, and the shit sounded like it was mixed. I was like, what do you do? You know, get the fuck out of here, man. Like you can't be. There's enough for talent. There's enough work for everybody. If you do a good job and if you put your heart and soul into it, you're gonna get work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I had to leave Arkansas, because I was my friend took me to the studio one time. Never seen Pro Tools in my life, so I'm sitting next to the engineer, and he noticed that I'm watching him like a hawk. So he turned his back to me, so I couldn't see what he was doing.
That's stupid.
So I was like, and then I watched the Dave Pensado episode that night. And he was like, you're only good as your teacher.
Yep.
So I ended up moving to Nashville, and I went to SAE, all because of what he did.
Yep.
And that's when I learned you share information. I mean, that's going to make you better, because one, you sharing it, and it lets you know personally that you know what you're talking about because you teaching someone else how to do it.
Just that. I'll learn from guys. I have 17, 18-year-old kids coming in here with laptops with the most incredible productions on it. I learn from them. You know what I mean? So by sharing my knowledge to them, they share their knowledge to me. Like, it's a give and take. It's always a two-way street. So I can't like I'm not 20 anymore, man. Like I gotta see what the fuck these kids are doing because I want to stay hip. You know what I mean?
Got to. As far as production go, 'cause I know you make beats, you bang out. What's up with them drum samples? I know you got a lot of them.
Yeah, huge library over the years. But honestly, man, I'm lazy. I got like 5, 6 kits that I pretty much use, and I might find like a snare that
Gotcha.
Yeah, like I'll gladly, send me your email, and I'll gladly send you my best off. Not a problem.
Oh yeah,
once again, it's the same thing. It's like the sound to me don't make the hit. What you do with those sounds is going to make or break it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy that's going to sit there for an hour trying to find the perfect snare. I'm more like, you know, when I mix it, if the shit needs more crack or more high end or whatever, I'll do. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm already in mix mode, so I'm not really that worried about it. Yeah.
Oh no, I just got into collecting drums, and then I met KLC from Beats by the Pound.
Yeah.
He did all the No Limit Records. I went to his studio, and he had like a big 2 terabyte hard drive, and he was like, "These are all drums," and I'm like, "Okay, I only got like 300 gigs of drums. Why do you have 2 terabytes?" He was like, "You can never have too many drums."
Yeah, I agree with that. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to see. Then it becomes okay. You got 2 terabytes of drums. How long is it going to take you to sort through 5,000 snares and try to find the right one? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody does that, I'm already done with the song. But that's just me. Yeah. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do. Like that's like I approach it. I guess I approach it from a mixer standpoint, where like I'm close enough with the snare where I know I can do to it what I need to get it where I want it.
You just know how to manipulate to where
Right.
you want how you want it. Okay.
Which is funny. I only approach it like this when I program stuff. Now when I record live stuff, I don't approach it like that.
Have you ever recorded something live and then turned around and programmed it? Like say, okay, I went and recorded a live drum set, just getting live drum samples from a live drum set, and turned around and programmed it how I wanted it, instead of actually playing it out, even though I do play drums.
No, because usually the drummers I use are so freaking good. Like there's nowhere I could get that, because it's a groove. A live drummer has a groove that drum machines have a groove too, but it's a different groove than a live drummer has.
Gotcha.
So if I use a live drummer, I use them because I want that type of groove.
Okay.
And I don't think I can recreate that. Then it becomes karaoke music to me if I try to do that. You know, like I can get close, and I might be able to fool somebody into thinking those are real drums. But
unless it's a real drummer.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like I'd rather, even if I only have 2 microphones, I'd rather use a real drummer. And like, you know, I'll call one of my buddies, like, hey man, come play this real quick. Yeah.
So how important is it to have, as an engineer and producer, how important is it to have live musicians on standby? Like, have a few guitar players, have a few drummers.
I feel like it depends what kind of music you're making, what kind of music you want to make. I'm kind of all over the place, so I might work on hip hop one day, and I might work on a rock thing the other day, and so it depends on the type of music. But I love the fact that I can pick up my phone and have Stevie Wonder's drummer over here, or Prince's guitar player over here, or the Jackson 5 bass player over here in 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or send them the song, they play on it, and they send it back to me. Yeah.
And I heard you mention you was working on building a studio. Like, in today's climate with studios.
Well, no, I'm building a mix. Like, I used to have. Okay, let me explain. I used to have a private commercial room in Hollywood, in a building that ended up getting torn down. And I was like, all right, till I find another room, I'm just going to put it in my living room, working there for a few months. And then I got comfortable working in my living room. And I've been working in here for the last 8 years. And I want to have a real room again. So what I'm doing is I'm converting, you can go in there, you guys can see it. I'm converting the garage, but I'm doing it right. It's a room inside a room, big speakers, the whole 9 yards. I'm kind of missing. I love working from home. I love the fact that I can fall out of bed and go to work. I love the fact that I don't have to be at a studio till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and then drive home. But I kind of miss the studio environment. So I was like, well, shit, let's just build one. And I don't know if you guys can see it. So this is the room. It'll be done in hopefully 3 or 4 weeks. This is the booth. The booth I've been using a lot. Like I actually have people in there recording themselves. We got the old Uris, got them super modified. They bang like crazy.
And you say you're going to use it mainly for mixing, or you're going to be tracking?
Yeah, I mean, 95% of my work is mixing. I love mixing. It's definitely my favorite part of making a record. So So yeah, it's mainly for mixing. We'll have a booth if somebody wants to record vocals or fix them. It's usually just like fixing some vocals. It's usually I don't really like the ad libs I did at the end. Can we cut some new ones? Like it's usually stuff like that. Yeah. But we also cut whole albums in there. Like
And as a mixing engineer, how important is to have like other studio equipment at your disposal other than just things for mixing? Like you just say, like doing overdubs and stuff like that.
I got enough where I can pretty much do what I need to do. Like you know, I've got a really good vocal chain. I've got a few good vocal mics. If I need to cut drums, I have a couple of buddies that have studios where I can cut drums at, or if we have budget, we can go to one of the bigger rooms. And everything else I can pretty much do here. So I mean, I've been doing it for 26 years, so there's a lot of equipment laying around that might only get used once every couple of years.
I got one more question, and then I'm gonna let Richard get it. Cause my main goal, like I said, was to do production for television and film. And far as the hip hop stuff go, mainly mixing. Cause out here in New Orleans and these parts, when I tell you the mixes are so terrible that when you hear it on the radio, but no one cares. Like, what is your advice on trying to figure out where to go to find these people to pick up these clients? Because I know that there ain't too many studios here that are like hip hop based. It's mostly like for jazz and like big bands and stuff like that. Like, do you think I should actually build a studio here?
I mean, dude, that's the $1 million question. You know, I don't know is the answer to that question. Like the best answer I can give you is try to do better work than everybody else, and you will stand out. It's just like an artist. Like if you have an artist that's so good that they're undeniable, eventually it's going to happen for them. You know, and it's the same thing what we do. If your mixes, like if you're in a market where you just said all the mixes here on the radio sound like shit, well, if you're able to do better mixes than everybody else, eventually you'll take over the market.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say like shitty mixes, I'm not talking about like the mainstream artists. I'm talking about when they put the local artists on the radio. I'm just like, oh my god.
Right. But that's a good market to take over. You know what I mean? Like, if you do really good work, eventually local artists will go, you know what? We gotta go to Gavin, man, because his shit, yeah. We gotta scratch together a few dollars so we can hire him, because we can't have our stuff sounding worse than all these other people that he worked with. Yeah, because it's a competition thing at the end of the day. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, Rich, you up, man?
If you have to take over, man. Go for it.
Yeah, because trust me, New Orleans is definitely an open market, man. Like, I just did a producer showcase, and I won, and it was crazy because Manny Fresh was there. And it opened up a lot of doors, so I've been working with a lot of artists. But I still noticed that, not necessarily just on the production end, but on the mixing end, like, people are just more focused on making the music. They don't care about the sonically how it sounds. Cause I guess because they've not been exposed to nothing like that.
Right. Well, go ahead and change that. You know what I mean? You're in a perfect situation.
Gotcha. All right, Rich, you up, man?
Oh, okay, man. Make sure you can hear me again.
Yep.
I gotta get the hang of these Google Hangout things, man. I mean, me myself I'm a performing artist, and I was living out in Atlanta, and I was starting to go off and do a lot of my music stuff out there, and dealing with other artists and other producers and other engineers, and I mean that kind of wrapped me into getting into engineering and stuff, and now I fucking love it, you know. I use the studio like an instrument, and I'm always finding out new cool ways of doing stuff, you know, whatever that stuff may be. Well, what would you say is something that you've come across recently now? I know you said you're coming into, you know, you're always finding new artists and new, I guess, people that want to come in as artists, and they kind of contribute something new to the way you do stuff. What would you say is your latest new thing that you've come across?
Let me think about that for a second. I would say it was his last project that we literally just finished. It was Tiffany Goucher. Like I said, like I was kind of blown away that because when she first started recording, like I went in the booth and I was like, oh God, she's just using the Scarlett and she's just using the Mojave. Like we have other microphones. We got a 87. We got a 47 copy. We got all this stuff. We got a Neve mic pre. We got an LA2A. Like she's not using any of that. But then she was singing her ass off. I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna let her do her thing. Yeah, make sure the levels are good. Fine. I'll her performance is incredible. I'm sure I can do some with the vocal sound. And then ended up getting one of the best vocal sounds I ever got on a record. It kind of threw me for a loop. Yeah. Because I was always like, oh, we have to use the Neve. We have to use this. We have to use the LA2A. And she just proved me wrong.
Okay.
Which is kind of, like I said, and I'm not saying we use shitty equipment. What I'm saying is, and I'm not saying we use shitty equipment. Scarlett is an amazing, to me, I mean, for a couple $100, that's an amazing interface. And I love the Mojave mics. But, like I said, like we could have used $15,000 worth of equipment, we ended up using $1,500 worth of equipment. And maybe that was the right way to go this time. Maybe that actually made it sound better. I don't know, because I didn't try it the other way. But
yeah, I mean, I got you on that. I know you said also too that you do, you set up kind of a vocal chain that you like, that's going to make it sound like the record, or how you want it to sound, or at least close to it.
Right.
I mean, from the get-go, like as they're recording into it.
Right.
Not necessarily printing that, but you're getting to that.
Right.
Do you would you say that you're doing? I know you said you have these clean vocal productions that you're trying to deal with more often, but do you go ahead and start layering on those different effects that are more stuff like delays and stuff like that? I guess the more sparkly type of stuff, besides just the basic compression and EQ when you're recording in your vocals?
I usually try to stay away from delay because that can really, I feel like it's harder for the singer to get the pitch right if there are delays going on.
Okay.
But a little reverb. It's usually just trying to make the vocal sound really lush, like really, and I mean lush in a EQ sense way, like just to make it sound really smooth and make them sound expensive, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But not to the point where it's distracting from them. Not so much effects, not so much like long reverbs and crazy delays and stuff like that. It's usually more smooth compression and smooth EQ. Like, oh man, my vocal sounds fucking great. Wow. Okay, let's record like that kind of sound. And it's usually done easier than like you don't need parallel compression and all that other crap to get that. Like usually one good EQ with EQ in the right frequencies. And
I mean, like when I record a lot of myself as well as other people. I mean, I end up recording a whole lot of other people here in my local town that I've built up. Now I've built up a nice studio that I can work with a lot of different people, whether I'm bringing in mixes online or local artists. I'm hitting up open mics to grab people and be like, hey, you're cool, man. Let's bring you in the studio,
Where are you located?
I'm in Las Vegas now, but I travel between Atlanta and LA a lot. But
I'm out in Vegas a lot, so that's cool.
I love Vegas. It's cool, man. No taxes. But the thing I found, I guess, is that for myself anyway, I record my vocals fairly dry when I'm doing myself, and then because I kind of know where I'm gonna go, effect-wise later. As long as I'm not peaking and not smashing out my vocals.
Honestly, that's the thing, man. Like I'd rather get vocals recorded way too low than even slightly too high.
Yeah. So
I was like, I get a lot of vocals where it's distorted, and like, dude, how hard is it to fucking turn the mic pre down? You know what I mean? And they go, oh, it wasn't loud enough. Well, then turn the music down. Like it's all about, it's so simple to record vocals right, and there's a lot of people that are not. I feel like it's so simple to record vocals right.
I feel you, man. I totally got you on that. I'm passing it off.
Yeah, I just got a quick question for you here. How do you handle recalls, and how many do you do actually before you start talking monies to do another recall?
How do I handle recall, like mixed recalls?
Yes.
You know what? completely in the box, except let's see, except the NTI EQ, which is very easy to document.
Yeah.
The Manly, and I use the H3000, but that usually stays on the same preset.
Right.
So that's literally the only thing I got to recall. So that takes about 30 seconds, and everything else is in the box. And I'm one of those people. I probably was in the box a lot earlier than most people. Meaning in the box, not necessarily Pro Tools, but I embraced digital consoles. Like I was a big fan of the Neve Capricorn. I was doing mixes on the Capricorn with running like 2-inch tape, running the music, and then mixing on the Capricorn because I loved the fact that I could like automate EQs and stuff like that. Like there was a lot of stuff you could do on those consoles that you couldn't do on the analog consoles, and it was before like people were going digital is bad. It was just, to me, it was just different. Like I was just like, well, yeah, 100 hertz on the CQs and like 100 hertz on the SSL. But if I hear a sound that way I wanted to hear it in my head, I'll just tweak this EQ till it sounds like that. You know what I mean? It might not be necessarily exactly the same frequencies I'm used to or the same amount of boost or reduction or whatever. But to me, like digital was never a bad thing. Like I'll give you the perfect example. When we were at Enterprise, like I said, like Dave Pensado was in the room, I was in the room, Dexter Simmons was in the room. Like we were all on the big 80, 96 input SSLs, you know, in the big room. And then Mike Dean, who now does all the Kanye stuff, he was upstairs, and this is late 90s. He was upstairs in a little room with a pair of NS10s and 3 Pro Tools rigs. I think Pro Tools back then was maximum 32 tracks, so he had like 2 or 3 rigs. And I go up there, and his shit sounded twice as good than anything we did downstairs. Like I would literally go in his room and be like, "What the fuck, Mike? Like, why does he pick it like that?"
Well, it takes time to listen, I guess.
So, you know, I was like, "This is crazy. Like, you're doing this all in the computers?" And he's like, "Yeah." He literally had a little bit of output gear, but it was like digital output gear. It was like reverbs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know, to me, like I said, like it's not. I feel like if you're a good engineer, you should be able to mix on anything. You should be able to do a decent mix in GarageBand. You should be able to do a mix on a Neve. You should be able to do a mix in Pro Tools or whatever. You know, because at the end of the day, you're just trying to recreate what you're hearing in your head. And I feel like the tools we have now are so incredibly good and so almost limitless. I don't think you can blame technology for bad sound at all.
No, absolutely. But what I was referring to though is how do you handle the recalls in as far as okay, I allow 1 free recall, but then after that, how much do you charge per recall?
I don't.
You don't.
There's one set price for the mix. If it takes 20 revisions to make the client happy, so be it. If it takes one, so be it. And
you have a limit of time as to how long it's going to be before they actually get another?
I don't. I feel like it's my job to make it sound good. That's what you're hiring me for, and I got to work on it till you're happy. And if it takes longer, it's because I'm taking longer, not because the client. You know.
Yeah.
There's people like sometimes you have to like what I want to is people going, oh, I don't know. Can we try like 20 different other things just to try them? That's when I kind of be like, yeah, no.
Okay, well, that's the point. I wanted to know where you.
But that almost never ever happens. But I had, you know, like a lot of times I work on stuff like I just did the Kalen and Miles album, and I think we did maybe 1-2 versions of each mix tops.
Yeah.
Because it was recorded really well. I worked for them before, so I knew exactly what they wanted. And then I worked on this guy called Lil Dicky, this white rapper that's funny as hell. And, you know, probably did 25 to 30 versions each song, just because he was super meticulous. But it was because he knew what he wanted. It wasn't because he wasn't indecisive. He just knew exactly what he wanted. And it was the first time I worked for him, so, you know, it took me a minute to figure out what he wanted. But I feel like in the end it all evens out.
As long as you
I'm
charge
sure-
for your
I'm sure,
services.
like I could be making more money if I approached it differently, but I don't know. I feel like I'm getting paid really well for what I'm doing. I'm making it, making a living, and I can pay my bills, and I feel blessed to do what I'm doing. So I don't need to nickel and dime everybody that comes through here.
Yeah, so it comes back to really setting your foot down as far as how much you want to invest of your time to start
Right.
with the relationship and the musician when they first come in. If they
Right.
understand they got to pay for it, then you feel good about investing your time in it, right?
Right.
All right, thanks
Yeah,
a lot,
look,
man.
Yeah, I understand the other side. I understand people that go 2 revisions and after that it's so much for each additional one. Like I get that point too. I just, like I said, I feel like I've never been in a situation where I felt taken advantage of. So I never felt the need to charge for that.
Okay. It's not like you got the bass player that wants to hear more bass because he's the one in the booth at the time that you're mixing
Well,
it.
you know
and so
what?
forth and so
And I
on,
work
yeah.
with bands, and this works great. And this is I'll give you advice on this. If I work with a band, they're allowed to make comments on the mix except their own instrument.
Oh,
And
that sounds like a good way.
that works out so incredibly well. Like that's just one of the rules. Like, hey, you guys are a great band, and we're mixing this together. I'm working for you,
Yeah.
and you can give me all the comments you want except on your own instrument.
You know
And
what? I'm going to try that. I got 2
It
sessions.
works so good, man.
Awesome. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, I've been doing that for years here. That's just kind of a standing rule.
Right.
Comment on anything but your own instrument.
Yeah.
Okay, can someone tell me why? I mean, it sounds cool as hell. I just want to know why.
Because the guitar player wants always to hear himself louder than everybody else, and the drummer wants to be louder than everybody else, and the bass player wants to be louder than everybody
And
else.
kind of like if you
wants to be louder than everybody else, so you're gonna have 5 people telling you to turn them up, and then it doesn't work.
Okay, favoritism. Okay, and that's kind of like if you was a mixing engineer and you're a guitar player, you would probably cater more to the guitar in the record.
Hey, yeah, you know what? That's interesting. Like I'm a keyboard player, right? And I'm very conscious of not doing that. Like
I read it somewhere. That's the only reason I brought it up.
Right. What to me it's like if it's a cool part, I want it to be heard. And if it's not such a great part, I'll turn it down. I might even take it out. Yeah. At the end of the day, man, a good mix is a song that has a really good arrangement. Like a good arrangement is 90% of your mix.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, man.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing.
No problem.
Claudio, I wanted to ask you this people question, man. If there was like if there was a best quality you had as a like a social quality, talking to people and what would that be? What would be the thing that has helped you the most when you interact with
right now, and this was great in LA. I'm from Switzerland originally, which means I'm on time, and nobody in LA is on time.
Yeah.
But that made me stand out right from the jump. Like I literally, and to this day, I get anxiety when I'm late for something. So I always try to be on time, and it literally made me stand out. Like I was never late for sessions. And this might sound like a little small thing, but I literally, like, people would tell me, like, you're the only motherfucker in LA that shows up on time. So there's that. And I feel like I'm
Max is just clapping away there. Max was just clapping his hands away when you're saying that.
Yeah, that's one of my huge pet peeves. The last thing I ever want to do is to get here and a client's waiting on me. I got to be prepared. It just drives me nuts.
Right. Exactly.
I need to have everything. I need to have the shop. It may not be perfect, but I got to be ready for the client. How can you be late? It's just
like you said, like you want to be ready for them. Like I want to have, before the drummer gets there, I want to have the mics on mic stands and fucking cables plugged in, and like all we got to do is like set it up around his kit, like because all of that, the less they have to wait around, the better their performance is going to be. That's what I mean with taking trying to take technology out of the equation, trying to get that out of the way of the performance. You know, like people come to the studio, they want to play, man. They don't want to sit around for hours and unless it's a rap session, then they want to roll a blunt first and listen to the homies mixtape and do all of that. But that's a different story.
Nobody else has a question?
Yo, I'm not sure if this was covered earlier, but on the records that you mixed for like Tupac, how was it working on something that was already done? You know, like you came back and went behind someone else. How was that?
You know, I never really looked at it that way. Like I said that earlier. Like everything we did with Tupac, it was always about making sure we did it in a way where we felt like Pac would like it. And I mean, a lot of times we, like I would still love to, because all those records we did after he died, like a lot of them, they redid the music of his new production, looks. I would actually love to go in and just remix the way it was originally, and like do like a Tupac box set of all the stuff the way it was done, but mixed really well. Because there's been bootlegs of it, but nothing's mixed really well. I like the challenge. I like the trying to stay true to it and honor it and being respectful of what it is. I think a better example is, like, this was years ago. I remixed the Chronic album for a video game. They needed stems. It was for some DJ scratch game or whatever. So I literally got hired. Here's the stems for the to the Chronic album. Remix it. I'm like, whoa. That was a little scary, but they just wanted to be as close to the original as possible. So I thought I did it justice, and like I said, it was for a video game. But it was still kind of scary, like, because that was such a classic, and it was such a important, incredible album. So that was a little scary. But with the Pac stuff, because it was basically new production, I never looked at it that way. It was always just like, let's make sure Pac would have liked it. Yeah, that was pretty much the only criteria. And we were working with people that knew Pac really well, like the people that we had in the studio were people that grew up with Pac, that were around him, that knew that, like, a lot of people don't know this, like, Pac was a huge Alanis Morissette fan, like shit like that, like stuff that you wouldn't necessarily know. So all of that came into the equation, like all of that came into play when we worked on this stuff.
That's good. That's dope.
Yeah. I'm not saying we always succeeded, though. There's definitely some songs where I'll cringe a little bit. We should
how long did y'all work on that? Like, I mean, that
was process, right? Like, for instance, like the Until the End of Time album took a year, and that one was interesting because we worked on it for like a little over 10 months, maybe almost 11 months, and then scrapped the whole thing and redid the whole double album in a month. Because we did it, we all thought we did a great job. Like, it was one of those, like, we kind of got lost because we were working on it for so long. So we were I remember we're at the studio, like at Interscope, they have a studio inside the offices, and we're working out of there. And it was late at night, and it was like, hey, let's listen to everything we did. And we listened to it, and like, nobody got really like up. Like, nobody was like dancing to it. Nobody was like being like hype about it. And we're like, is this actually good? And we're like, I don't think this is as good as we thought it was. And we literally scrapped a good 10 months of work and started over. And we had a deadline. We knew we had to finish it. I think at that point we had 3.5 weeks left to finish it. And we had 3 studios going around the clock. I would literally get different producers in different studios, and I would just go from studio to studio. Like, as soon as somebody finished something, I would go right in behind and mix it. And when I'm done with that, go to the next studio and mix that. Like we literally had this machine going on where I think it was 20-something songs, and we did top to bottom. We did them in a little over 3.5 weeks. I don't think I ever slept little in my life. I was literally delirious by then.
Wow. So you brought up a key point in my thinking process. So when all songs were completed, you all submitted it to the label or whoever was the sponsor for that project, right?
Well, no, the final say was always Afeni, Pac's mom. She's the one that gave the ultimate green light. Like there was other people that it went to before it went to her. Like Tom Wally was involved. Somebody was really closely involved, Molly Monchaz, which was a childhood friend of Pac's. Those were people that we worked closely with as we were working on it, but ultimately it would go to Afeni, and she would say yes or no. And then Interscope, whoever put it out, they were basically distributing it.
Yeah, but was it at the end when you got all songs done, or was it per song basis?
Well, it was kind of as a work in progress thing.
Okay.
Yeah. We might get, because we usually work on more than one song at a time, so it was usually like 3 or 4 songs, and we'll maybe not super finalize it, but like have really really good rough mixes. And it was always in kind of like they would. Literally every song we did probably had 10 different versions with different guests on it, with different production, with different, even different mixes. Like literally, like it was always. We always tried to get a bunch of different versions and then to pick the best, and then we'll finish that version. That kind of was the process, which took a lot of time, but for what we were doing, I felt like it worked.
Well, that's dope. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Bro, who mixed Dead's Mansion?
I did.
All right, and who mixed Still Ballin'?
Pretty sure I did.
Okay.
With the one with Trick Daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mixed it.
Yeah. Who did the music on that? Who did the music on that, bro?
On which one? On Still Ballin'?
Still Ballin', yeah.
Oh God, I don't remember.
Was it Johnny J or was it someone else?
No, it was what's his name? He used to be part of Trackmasters. He's gonna kill me if he finds out I can't remember his name. He'll come to me when I don't think about it. It wasn't LT. It was. He'll come to me. Sorry. The acoustic
He was
version.
part of Trackmasters. Okay.
He was part of Trackmasters, but I can't remember his name.
Well, you said the acoustic version?
The acoustic version I did.
Okay. What about the other version? Did you do that one too or no?
No, I didn't do that one. The other version was Kevin O'Reilly was the producer.
Okay, and why did you get tagged for the acoustic version?
What do you
Was
mean?
it just for the acoustic version, did you get chosen for that one just because you are a person who really likes live instruments, or what was the deal?
No, that was kind of an accident. We were working on that, and the version we had, they liked the music that was on it, but they didn't like the drums. So I was redoing the drums, and then after we did the drums, I was like, dude, some few acoustic guitar sprinkles in here would actually be really cool. So I called my boy, Michael Herring, who he's one of the greatest fucking guitar players in the city. And he came over. I was living in Studio City at the time. We were in like my home studio. He was sitting on my couch and he was playing along to the track I was working on. And as he was playing along, I was taking out more and more stuff. Like I started taking the keys out and I started taking the bass out. And I started like, honestly, there was like a shaker and a hi-hat left, and he was still playing along. I was like, dude, this is fucking cool. We should do a version like this. So it was kind of an accident. So we just cut it. Honestly, I just cut it because I wanted to hear it like that. I never thought this would ever be released. So he was sitting on my couch. I just threw like an 87 somewhere in the vicinity of the guitar. I didn't even like place it right. Yeah, and I just recorded him like on the spot and did a couple of takes. I think if you listen with headphones, you can hear my neighbor's dog barking a little bit because I had the door open to the studio. Anyway, so we did it like that, and I sent it to Afeni as one of the versions, one of the fucking 20 versions that we did of that song. And she hit us back and was like, "Oh my God, that one with just the guitars made me cry. Like I never, like my son's lyrics just are shining with that background. I want that to be the version." I was like, "Well, okay, cool, let's cut it." You know, they're like, "No, this is it. This is the version. Like, don't change anything." I was like, "No, you don't understand. Like I want to go to a real studio and cut it and get better mics and make sure the performance is 100%." They're like, "No, that's it. Mix it." And we mixed it. And forgot the guy's name. Somebody ended up singing a hook. No, we already had the hook when I worked on the track. So literally, I took everything out that was already there and used the guitar that originally was just supposed to be an overdub, and that was it.
It made her cry and you wanted to replace it, huh?
Like me being the genius going, "Oh man, we should do an acoustic guitar version rap song." It wasn't that at all. It was just us fucking around and be like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Yeah.
Who is it? Richard asks. He says, "I assume he doesn't self-master, right?" I saw mastering credits on yours.
Yeah.
Do you do your own?
I just mastered Lil Sim's album. He's a rapper from the UK who's super hot, by the way.
Did you also mix it?
No, I mixed some of her stuff, but not this album. She mixed it in the UK while she was in the UK. Because she's very hands-on, she wants to be there. But I did master it for her. These days, pretty much everything I work on, I'll give the client a mastered version and a non-mastered version, and then it's up to them if they want to get it mastered again. I always say get it mastered if you can afford to, but don't get it mastered by the $20 internet guy. Like, go to a real mastering place. If you can't afford to go to a real mastering place, use my master. So totally respect what mastering engineers are doing. I think it's like, there's a little bit of a black art to it. There's a little bit of mystery. I always feel like I should go sacrifice a chicken first before I master the song.
Hey, and on that note, someone called me the other day and was like, "Hey, I was trying to see if you want to master a song." I was like, "I'm not a mastering engineer just because I have ozone and this, that, and the third." Like, but nowadays I see a lot of people say that they do mixing and master. I see Richard's question is mixing and master the same song. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, mixing and mastering the same song?
I mean, in a perfect world, I would love, I would love for all this stuff to go to Sterling or go to Oasis or whatever to get mastered. I definitely feel like it adds something to it. If it goes to a place like that. Like I said, if it goes down to the homie down the street who has a cracked version of Ozone, then no, I'd rather master it myself. So, and I have to, even just as a ref, to send it to clients or like A&R guys, I have to master it, because if I just send it a mix, I'll master it to go, "Man, what's wrong? It's super low." Like, the whole like mindset of it needs to get mastered doesn't really exist anymore. So I got to master it anyway. So since I'm mastering it anyway, I might as well give it to him. But I always make sure I give him a version that's not mastered. So if they want to, and I always advocate for it. I always say like, "Hey, these are my favorite mastering spots. If you can afford to, please go get a master. But if you can't, use my master." And I feel like my mastering is pretty decent. And I kind of, while I'm mixing, it kind of gets mastered at the same time. I'm pretty much mixing into a mastering chain. Not full on. I'm still tweaking it at the end of the day, but there's definitely, because it affects the mix. So there's definitely some limiting happening. There's definitely some shit on that, like it definitely goes to the manually, it goes to the NTI. So there's definitely some mastering happening as I'm mixing it. Anyway.
But do you think eventually it'll get to the point where artists will actually focus on, like you said, like it's a black art and it's something that's not really spoken about with most artists?
Well, it's a question of money. It's like a good mastering engineer will cost $300 a song. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah, and a good one is like 700.
Right. Like I said, that's my homie price. That's like Oasis like, "Hey, I need a solid. If this artist is really good, they want to get it mastered, can you do it for $300? And they'll probably do it. But yeah, mastering costs a lot of money. And if you have people, like if you have independent projects, if they have, if they're paying $500-$600 a song for the mix because it's a super indie project, they can't afford to We'll spend
10 songs. Yeah.
like another $3,000 on the mastering.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you can any way, shape, or form afford to get it mastered, absolutely, go to a real mastering guy.
You I was gonna say you said something really dope, and I think about that a lot. Like that version that went on the acapella or the acoustic version. You wasn't in the booth. You had a dog in the background, but it came out dope. A lot of people put emphasis on, hey, we got to go into the studio. But I've been in a lot of sessions where we've cut the acoustic or the instrument inside the control room. Like it doesn't, as long as it sound and feel good, right?
Right. Look, this is a terrible thing to say as a music engineer, but the performance is a million times more important than the sonics. Nobody's going to buy a record because you got the greatest snare sound. They're going to buy a record because you got great songs and you got a great vibe. And yes, what we're doing is very important, but I sometimes feel like it's more important to facilitate, to get out of the way, to make it as easy as possible on the creative people for them to record than to, let me spend 15 minutes moving this mic back and forth to get the absolute perfect sound. If you have the luxury, if you're working with Steely Dan, by all means do it. But just be aware that it's more important to stay out of the way and make sure that the creative people can do their thing as easily as possible. But that's kind of my philosophy. Like it's kind of contrary to what we're doing, but yeah, at the end of the day, the song, the vibe of the song, the feel, the performance, I feel is more important than the perfect sound. But if you can achieve both, that's the holy grail. That's what we all strive for. But I'd rather compromise. I'd rather, like I said, like if I have to use a 58 to record vocals because that's what the singer wants to perform with, I'd rather do that than force him to use a 47 or a C12, and now his performance is compromised because he has to stand behind the microphone. He's not used to that.
Okay, so my question is, as far as the Nas album, what was that like working on that Godson album?
Well, basically, I got on that album because he wanted the song with Pac, once again, Doug Manchin, he wanted that song on his album.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is on the Tupac album, it's 2 Pac verses, 1 Nas verse, and then on the Nas album, it's 2 Nas verses, 1 Pac verse. And I flew down to Miami to Circle House to record him, and brought it back to LA. Like with the Pac thing, we always got to travel with the files. We're not allowed to send anything. Like we're not allowed to like upload anything to the internet or anything like that. We always have to like take a hard drive and go to wherever we need to go, which is kind of fun.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's dope. That's dope.
That's man.
Whenever I travel with files, or if I work at another studio, we always have security with us. Like it's really funny. Anyway, I went down there, recorded him. He was really cool. We had a cool. Probably sat by the pool for a couple hours, talked to him. He's a super deep person. Extremely intelligent. Like I wish I could have worked more with him. Like he's fucking incredible, man. Recorded the addition because the initial verse was already recorded. I think he might have recorded that in New York before, but he wanted to add an additional verse for his album version.
And you keep the same vocal chain, right?
Yeah. If
okay.
anything.
So whenever you have sessions, you keep you make a note in the session of what mic you used or whatnot. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I usually take notes, especially when I work with people, because if I work with them again, if I already know what mic works with them, then I can, they can come in, it's already set up, and they can start recording versus, I'll just try 3 different mics and see which one you sound best on and do all that crap. So I always take notes of people that I work with, what I use, or I might just take a picture with my phone real quick these days.
And what mic did you use on Nas?
I'm pretty sure it was just an 87.
Okay.
Pretty sure it was an 87. I would have to look it up, but it was probably an Eve, like a 1073, probably an 1176 compressor or a tube deck. And
C1B.
yeah, and then straight into Pro Tools.
Okay.
There was nothing. There was nothing like special or esoteric about it. Like people like that, man. Like him, he could have recorded his shit on the phone and sent it to me. It still would have been dope.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
So did you get any opportunity to work on any other records on the album, or just that
That's
particular
what I'm talking about, man. I like that.
If you're a dope artist, you're a dope artist. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna come across. No, that was the only song I worked on that album. But it was great because I got paid twice because I have production credit and writing credit on it. And I got paid twice because it ended up being on both albums. So I got paid twice for the same mix, and I got paid twice for the production. So that was really cool.
Oh man, that's great.
You know, the good old days when we had budget. To me it was just an honor to be working with them. It's incredible. Yeah.
What about working with Redman? How was that?
Redman is a mad fun. That was just.
He's like one of the dopest producers ever, man.
You know, you're just along for a ride with him, man. Like this is. You laugh the whole time you're with him. You know what I mean? It's what it does.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was hella cool. And Redman will be the one that will call you at 4 o'clock in the morning because his auxiliary input doesn't work, and he's trying to play a song for somebody. You know, you're like,
oh, he's that guy.
I don't even know what fucking studio he's at. I'm like,
he seems like that. I promise you, he just seems like that dude. I swear.
No, he's super cool. Super cool. Like I say, man, like I've been so blessed. Like pretty much 99.9% of people I work with, man, have been incredible. Yeah.
So did you ever have those years where it got so frustrating to you because you was getting certain people left and right that it just got to the point where you was like, okay, I don't think this is for me, or you was just it was just what it was?
I mean, don't get me wrong, it does get frustrating sometimes, but at the end of the day, this is all I can do. I've been making music. I've been making money off of music since I was 15, and if I want to eat, I gotta do this. So, you know, like I said, I look at it. I feel I'm extremely blessed to make a living off of this, because I still get excited every day. I get up, like I get excited about, oh shit, like I'm mixing this today. I gotta do this. Like, you know, like I'm still like hype about it.
Oh, trust me. If anybody feels you, I feel you. I just got invited to I went to a Soldier Slim tribute, and I got invited to come out, and I basically got to meet all the rappers I grew up on, which was pretty tripped out. So, wow. And I got to actually get everybody's contacts. So I've been sending beats to people I never thought I would be sending them to. So
right, no, that's dope, man. That's really dope.
I think Max got a question. So you up, Max?
All right, thanks, man. Earlier you had mentioned things like candles and trying to make the environment right. What kind of things do you do to get your artists comfortable with the environment that they're working in?
It usually doesn't take a lot. Like one thing, like I had, because I'm working out of my house, and people like that environment that it's not necessarily a studio. So I literally had this one artist, her name is Ai, she's from Japan, she's a huge artist over there. And I mixed a couple of songs for her on the album, and she came over here because she wanted to fix one vocal part. And she ended up doing recording her whole next album at my house. And this is somebody that could go to the Village or the record plant, like they definitely have the budget for it. And she ended up recording her whole next album at my house just because she liked the environment. She loved my dogs. We have dogs, we have cats. There's my son. Like it's not a studio environment at all. You know, from the people that I hear, like there's always somebody cooking in my kitchen. Like, for me, it's probably a lot of that going on. Now, if I'm at a regular studio, like I said, if I do go to another studio and do that, I do like what everybody else does. Like I said, like candles, incense, if they like that. I try to find out what they like. Try to find out what kind of tea they like, what kind of drinks they like, what kind of food, like what kind of snacks they like, stuff like that. Just little things I feel like make all the difference in the world.
Now, do you cover that when you're doing your pre-production with them, or
I usually try to find people. I either try to talk directly to the artist, if I can. I try to talk to the management, or I find people that worked with them before and talk to them. But I usually have access to the artist, and sometimes it's fly by the pants. Like sometimes you just you get a call and you have a session in 15 minutes, and we'll figure it out. But then I try, the personality thing. Like I said, like most people are fairly comfortable with me, for whatever.
Do you find that lighting and colors are important to artists?
Like dimming the lights. Some people turning the lights completely off. Like whatever. Yeah, it's just about asking questions. Like, hey, you want to turn down the lights a little bit? Do you want something to drink? Can I make you some tea? I feel like it's important for the engineer to ask if you want some tea, not for the assistant, and then for me to go make it. It makes it more personal, and it lets the artist know, oh, he's cool, he's here for me. He's not big-headed or too big to make me tea or something like that. I feel like little things like that make all the difference in the world.
You mentioned the assistant. I've got an intern here. Any advice for interns?
Yes. Like I'm probably the wrong person to talk to. When I started working at Larrabee, I booked a session last minute on a Saturday morning, and they didn't have an assistant available. So I was like, well, I know the rooms well enough. Just give me one of the runners. Doesn't really matter. And that runner ended up becoming my assistant for the next 15 years. And I brought him to other studios. I kind of he knew I wanted my stuff set up. Was super easy to work with. We ended up becoming really good friends. We're still really good friends to this day. I feel like as an assistant, I've seen stuff just have common sense. Like, don't be an assistant in a session and try to sell your beats to the artist while the producer is, or period. Like stuff like that. Like, try to be more degree blend in the background and be there when you're needed versus to be in people's faces. And be there to learn. Don't. With all these engineering schools, a lot of times I meet people that they're fresh out of school and they feel like they know everything. And within 2 minutes, I can put them into a situation where they're stuck. And I feel like just be humble. Be humble, be attentive. Realize that the person you're working with probably been doing it for 30 years or for however long, and they might know a thing or two that you didn't learn at Full Sail or whatever. And be on time, be clean, I give you the worst thing, the worst example I ever saw. This is extreme, but I was doing a session with the Outlaws, and we sent the runner to go get food, and it was 20 people in the studio, so it was a good amount of money that we sent with the runner to go pick up the food, and the runner took the money and never returned.
Wow! Oh man, that is crazy.
So not only did this motherfucker take our money, but I got 20 angry people in the studio that are hungry, and somebody just stole their fucking money. So I ended up buying everybody lunch. But that's obviously the extreme example. But yeah, don't do that. Learn Pro Tools. Dude, if you wanna be the fastest cat on Pro Tools. Know all the shortcuts. If you can comp vocals for me, and if you know how to set up a session for me and do edits for me, I'll love you. I'll tip you. I'll make sure you'll be taken care of. I'll recommend you to other sessions. That's about it.
Well, I know
Yeah, my thing is since it's only my equipment and pretty much I'm the only person working here, it's set up exactly the way I want it. I don't even have a patch bay anymore. So there's really nothing to do for an assistant. I've one person, the guy that I've been working with for years and years, and once in a while I'll send him a session to just clean up and label everything and stuff like that, and he'll send it back to me. But that's about the extent of what I need an assistant for. Unless, if I do if I'm in another studio and I'm doing a live session, I'm setting up microphones, stuff like that. Absolutely, I need the system. But just to mix, I'm pretty self-sufficient these days.
I think I found it crazy that more and more the dopest studios I've ever seen are all home studios. It's never like the studio that I thought it was gonna be. Like when I was living in Atlanta and intern at Tree Sound was cool.
Right.
But then when I went to Nashville, I went to this business production business seminar, and it was this studio in this neighborhood off in the cut, and it was like right now to this day that's like the best studio I've ever seen in my life.
No, Nashville has incredible home studios. LA does too, but LA still has a lot of really, really good commercial rooms, and they're actually busy. You know, I mean, there's still East West, there's still Ocean Way, there's the Village, there's the Record Plant, there's Larrabee, there's like all these places that are really, really, you know, like some of them historical places, and you get the vibe. Like if I walk into the Village or if I walk into Ocean Way, you definitely get that vibe. You get the sense of history. And I think there's an inspiration to that.
Didn't they redo what was it, Sound City Studio? Didn't somebody buy it and
yeah?
What is it?
That's basically I forgot the guy's name, but that's basically a private studio.
Yeah, I interned for Ben Allen.
Although to be completely honest, Sound City at the end was a fucking shithole. So I'm glad somebody cleaned that place.
Oh really? I mean, I just all I saw was the documentary, so I don't know which way.
No, I mean, dude, like extremely, you know, like extremely cool place. But yeah, that place was in shambles at the end. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I interned for a private studio in Atlanta, and it was great because when I first put up to it, I couldn't find it because it was an abandoned building, and I'm like, hey man, I'm looking at Google, but I don't see the studio, and he was like, you parked in front of it, and I'm looking like this is like a crack house. I'm like, man, I'm thinking it's a setup. Like, oh man, they didn't set me up. I get in there, and one of the best studios I've ever seen. Like it was like a box car, like a train car inside of the house. Like that was the main control room.
Wow.
A lot of
Music Box.
Maze Studio.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's over there in Little 5 Points.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh.
Yeah, but it's a private studio, and it was cool because the clients that came in, like they didn't just come to record one particular song. Like they came and stayed for like a month or two working on like a whole album. Versus
that's dope.
Yeah, versus just going to a studio.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So do you ever get any projects like that where you're mixing like the entire album at one time, or is it just like piece by piece?
It depends. It's about 50-50. Like a lot of times I get the whole project. It really depends. Like I just Killing the Mouse, I did the whole thing. A lot of times I get like half because there's usually like timing issues, like there's deadlines where it's like impossible for me to do the whole thing, so we get one more person to do it. Yeah. Like at Station Gemini, I pretty much did the whole album except maybe 2 songs. Lil Dicky, I did like half. It depends.
Did you do Save That Money?
Honestly, I think I did. Honestly, I can't remember.
Okay, have you ever met him? Like, have you ever got to like actually get to sit down and work with Lil Dicky?
Yeah.
Dude is amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's intense as fuck though in person. In a good
really?
way. Yeah.
What is he like? Real anal retentive or something?
No, it's just he's as you know, like he knows exactly what he wants, but at the same time he has very bad ADD. So
he looks like he has bad ADD.
Super talented though. He's so freaking talented. Yeah. But honestly that was hard for me. That was one of the and the mixes came out incredible. So it's like I don't really care how we get there as long as we get there. You know? So I'm not complaining or anything like that, but that wasn't it. That was one of the harder ones in the last few years. Just because and like he had this like pair of fucked up headphones that he would listen to the mixes to, that only made sense to him, you know. And like he'll like hand me the headphones, like listen, can't you hear that? And I was like, dude, all I hear is distortion. Like I can't hear anything of it. But it made sense. You know, so like.
That is hilarious.
You know, so it wasn't an easy journey, but the stuff we did together came out incredible. So no complaints.
And now he's taking off. That's dope.
Right. Right.
What about rock? I mean, we've been talking about a lot of hip hop sessions. What about rock sessions? You ever had any like real big intense rock sessions?
The only like real rock session is this one group I've been working with, the Beware of Darkness, which was one of those things that started out as a passion project and they ended up getting signed by Warner Brothers and blah 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 blah. But I was such good friends with them, it wasn't intense at all. It was very chill. It was very like, let's go and do great music and I'll capture it. Like, it was simple.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would love to work, I never worked with like U2 or anything like that. Like I would love to do that actually. That'd be challenging, but that'd be fun.
Yeah, I see rock sessions versus hip hop sessions are like night and day.
Yeah.
Like I saw them. I was in a session for this band called Delta Spirit when they was working on their album, and one day they was tracking drums, and like Ben Allen has this huge drum collection of like vintage different drum sets, like 50s, 60s. They're like, oh, this snare don't work. Why don't you try the 50 snare? Or what about the? I'm like, all that for a snare? Like that's crazy.
Absolutely.
So I find that pretty dope as far as rock goes. But are you allowed to talk about any upcoming projects you're working on right now?
Well, I just finished a bunch of stuff because it's the end of the year, and that's usually what happens. There's going to be some Tupac stuff that we just kind of started working on, but I can't tell you exactly what it is.
So does he? Okay, I hear. Does he really have like a bunch of music, like just stashed that ain't nobody heard?
Yeah.
So he really recorded that many records?
Yeah.
Because I remember it was a list. I thought it was a joke. It was a list like showing all the albums that was supposed to come out till like 2020, and it just had like different album titles, and it was just they saying it was like he had enough to do so many new albums.
Yeah, there's still a bunch of material left. That's all I can say.
And far as
I don't know how accurate that list was that you saw.
Oh man, that was like in the MySpace days. So ain't no telling how legit that was. But far as hard drives go, that's my question. I'm done because I'll talk your ear off. But far as hard drives go, like what are your main hard drives that you use? Because I just went and I had to buy another hard drive because I'm scared. I watched my friend lose his hard drive.
Black drives, the only drives I use. My startup drive is an SSD, just so the computer runs faster.
Mm-hmm.
I got like a 12-core Mac Pro, and then these are the hard drives I use.
And that's an external hard drive?
Well, this is like a removable kind of thing, so I can have like different caddies. Like I can swap them and shit. But as far as the brand that I'm using, it's Western Digital Blacks. Like, knock on wood, I have some of these that are 10 years old and never, ever, ever had one go bad. Every other brand, every other type, even Western Digital, like other type of Western Digital drives, they all eventually died on me.
And you said caddy, so are you using them like an external drive? I'm saying like you said a hard drive caddy. Are you using them as an external, or are you putting them in your MacBook?
My main work drive is internal. I have a 2 terabyte internal drive that I work off, like all the project that I'm currently working on are there. And then there's another 2 terabyte drive, which is just a backup drive. So whenever I close a session, I automatically drag it to the other drive, so it exists in 2 places. And then it gets archived on these, and I also burn Blu-rays. So everything I did, and since I started using Pro Tools, which was like late 90s, I have backups. Everything that goes on my hard drives gets backed up.
Okay. And how often do you, because I'm trying to get in the habit of file management, how often do you back up your drives, like you back up your backups?
It always exists in 2 places. If it doesn't exist in 2 places, it doesn't exist in my mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So while I'm working...
So you manually doing it?
Huh?
You manually drag them for
yeah.
each? Okay.
Yeah, I tried different software. I like the manual part the best. I've the backup drive, the internal, I have it set where I can't play back from it. So I can only play back from the main drive. And like I said, I'll close the session. It's like second nature to me now. I'll just close the session, drag it over. All my clients get like a 4-letter abbreviation, a 3 or 4-letter abbreviation. Like I'm super organized about it.
And do you partition your hard drive like sessions and samples, and it's just all samples?
They're all separate hard. My session hard drive is only sessions. My startup drive is only for startup and the programs. I have a hard drive with only sounds on it. You know what I mean? Like.
See, my $1 million question is, how are you plugging up these hard drives? Like, are they
just these external ones? I have different ones. Some of them are FireWire, some of them are USB 3.
Oh, so they just look like that where they don't have a casing over it.
Right, you literally slide them into a. Hold on, I'll show it to you.
I'm about to say, put me on game. Look, I'm trying to
get
that works.
Hey, you can get those from Micro Center. Those little housing enclosures.
And they're like USB powered or FireWire or whatever.
Yeah, they're USB powered.
USB or
it's just like it was sitting in your laptop.
I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so they just slide in there. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking that up right now because I never knew.
So once I'm completely done with a hard drive, it goes on a drive like that, and I'll burn it to Blu-rays because Blu-rays can hold 25 gigs. So I usually can put a whole project in there.
Now I can take these DVDs back because I was wondering. I was like, I know I can't fit all this stuff on a DVD. Thank you, man.
Yeah, file management, dude. Okay, let me say this. This is important. File management. So many people. I get calls probably twice a week. Dude, my hard drive died. I have my whole project on there. I was like, well, you have it on another drive, right? No. Well, a terabyte hard drive costs like $40 these days. Like, there's no excuse not to have your shit on more than one drive. And like I said, my philosophy is if it's not on at least two places, it doesn't exist. And I'd rather have your shit on 2 shitty hard drives than one good one. Like, because hard drives eventually they're gonna die. Some die within a week, some die within a year.
I'm telling you, I watched the guy have a session that just went out. He just bought the hard drive, and not even 3 hours later, it just went out.
So there's no excuse to not back your shit up. Yeah.
Hey, last week mine was early this week actually. Mine kept ejecting, and I was like, "Oh shit, I need to go to Micro Center." I went and grabbed the Lacey and pulled everything from there. I was like, "Forget that shit."
I mean, my hard drive went out my MacBook. Luckily, it was a spot indicator that could pull everything off of it and put it on another hard drive. I'm trying to learn about what's the thing on MacBook, Time Machine. Like, do any of y'all use the Time Machine?
Time Machine good, but you gotta have a real dope ass hard drive. Like, if you buy anything that's not a Mac hard drive for Time Machine, when it comes time to recover your shit, the shit ain't gonna recognize it.
Gotcha.
So you gotta really invest into a good hard drive like that. That's all it's for a Mac. Find one that's good for a Mac, because if you don't plug it in all the time, when you try to plug it up, it won't recognize it, and that won't work either.
Yeah, my birthday coming up, so everybody's like, "What you want?" I'm like, "Hard drives. I don't want nothing else. I don't need shit else. I just want hard drives. That's it."
Exactly right. I was in the IT field for a number of years, and looking at the National Archives was my guide. And their philosophy is if it doesn't exist in at least 3 different places, it doesn't really exist.
Right.
Or it needs to reside in 3 physical locations.
Right.
Because you can have 2 hard drives in locally, but if you have a flood or a tornado, earthquake, whatever, unless you've got a 3rd copy stored somewhere else,
right.
You're shit out of luck.
I have one of those big ass fire safes that the backup hard drives go in, and then the Blu-rays actually go to a vault. So eventually, it's in two different physical.
Yo, and also put it on Dropbox or G Drive. Just create a folder just for your sessions. Pull all your
The problem
sessions
is I
up
have,
there.
I have way too much data to be able to do it on the cloud.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But if you got something that you want to just
Yeah, I do like current
yeah.
projects. I do that. So, I mean, I have the unlimited like Amazon Cloud Drive and my
Oh
Dropbox
yeah.
too. So I do have, like it is, and I can access my computer anyway if I need to. But certain things I do upload.
And the Tupac sessions. So you said you can't email them this and the third. You gotta actually fly with them. What happens with them like after you mix it? Like you have to turn it back into somebody, or are you allowed to?
They go to a vault. It's a secure vault. It's the same place where like Spielberg keeps his like print masters and stuff like that. It's a pretty crazy place actually. Super high.
Wow, that is crazy. Huh.
That's where all the tapes are, all the hard drives. There's the stuff that I'm working on. I have at my place, but like it goes in the safe every night. They're very. It's because of insurance reasons. Like they're very conscious of what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's some serious paperwork right there.
Right.
Man, huh?
Yeah. I gotta say,
How do they
I've
keep
never had
those hard
anything leak in
drives?
12 years from my end.
You said what now?
I never had anything leak from my end.
Yeah, I was about to say that was gonna be my next question. Like, have you ever had an album or anything leak? Like, how does a leak work? Like, it's just like an engineer leaked it or an intern or?
Yeah,
Man, CEO.
Yeah, exactly. It's usually label people that leak it. It's not.
There's never really a leak.
Blame it on us, but it's usually, the people at the label that leak that shit.
So it's never really a leak. It's just.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's been leaks. There were leaks, but I'm not gonna leak my client shit. I want to stay in business. You know what I mean? Like, like why the fuck would I leak somebody's shit?
Yeah. Now, I've been seeing people leak their own shit, which is it sounds retarded. It's like you're not leaking it. You're just putting it out early, dumb. Like, quit calling it a leak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely a brand new world we're living.
You ain't never like, okay, who got more questions? Because I mean, I was finna go in.
That I got like back to the singers. That thing about letting the singers be by themselves. I would teach singers Pro Tools, and I'd sit back. I might even end up going to sleep. But I've gone to the movies while they did it, and I got called lazy. And I was like, man, if you don't lost your mind, you know how much effort it takes to teach up as much time as I put in to teaching artists Pro Tools. I was like, some of the best performances, like there's one right now running through my mind now with Ashley Littlejohn, singing Ashley Littlejohn. I have never worked with her and got that sound where I'm in the room.
Right.
It's been me leaving and her getting in there acting a fool.
It only works with really good singers, and I feel like it helps with really good singers because that way you're totally out of the way. You know what I mean? Like they have the ultimate freedom. They're by themselves, so they're putting themselves with no outside influences. But like I said, if it's not a great singer to begin with, or somebody who can do their own arrangements or whatever, it's not going to work.
The guy that discovered Trey Songz, the first thing he did was taught him how to record himself.
Yeah.
Like Trey Songz does his own vocals.
Yeah, a lot of people do these days. Honestly, for me, it started because I don't like recording vocals. It's just not my thing. Like, I'll do it if I have to, obviously, but it's probably my least favorite thing to do as far as making a record.
Yeah, but
whenever I can get away with it, I'll be like, hey, record this song. And also, because most of the time, I don't have time to.
And see, I love it. Well, that's where my head's at right now is vocals,
Right.
which I'm no pro at. I'm trying to get this thing down, get vocals down. But I didn't walk away because I don't like vocals. I wanted to get more out of the singers, and when I experienced it only took one time. When I heard the results, I was, oh crap! Like when you talk about getting out of the way, yeah, I was totally out of the way.
Yeah. Now with me, it was definitely a little like that too. Like, I don't really like recording.
Yeah, the singer I put on a loop recorder.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I recorded like Patty LaBelle before. Like, that's fun. You know what I mean? I'll do that every day. But sit there.
Oh no, I'm staying, Patty. Yeah, I'm staying.
You know what I mean? Like to record a singer that you have to punch in every 2 words and prompt and do all that stuff. I don't know. There's more fun things in life than doing that.
Yeah, I had one artist. They wanted me to turn the lights completely off. I just put on loop record and I just left the room.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Look, at the end of the day, it's all about trying to get the absolute best result. And if that's how you get there, great. You know, and if that doesn't work, then you try something else. Like I said, I have people that are really good at recording vocals. They're vocal producers, vocal coaches. I'm not that. That's not my strength. So if I know somebody that can do a better job than me, that's who I send it to. Yeah.
Hallie, what's that? You're somewhat the opposite. What? If you can unmute yourself, I should say, Hallie. She typed over there on the side. I'm actually somewhat the opposite. I'm wondering what.
Can you hear me?
Yes. What were you saying? What do you mean? You're somewhat the opposite. What do you mean?
Okay, 1 second, so I can pull that video back up for y'all.
She's a singer.
So.
Hey, how you doing?
Hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey.
Cool. Long time. All right, think I got it.
You pulling a video up?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, my email was conflicting earlier when I was my team. Anyways, regardless, when you guys were talking about before how just leaving the singer alone to let them work to do that, I'm like that, but only to an extent. If I'm working on a project, particularly with someone who I'm collaborating with, I want to know what they want and what they're looking for, because it's about me, but it's not just about me.
Right.
In regards to the project.
I think so. Like it totally depends on the situation. I totally agree. If it's that kind of, if it's more of a collab thing or whatever, then absolutely I want to be involved and I want to hear. But it totally depends on the person. You know what I mean? Like some people work.
Yeah.
Some people work better when there's an audience. They want to have
same here.
In a control room. And it's almost like they're doing like a live performance because now they got an audience. Like some people want that.
Yeah, and that's the way I am too.
Yeah, so the bottom line is there's no rules. Whatever works, whatever gets the best result, that's what you should do. Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to do a handstand while you're singing, or you want, like Marvin Gaye, lay on a couch while you're, like. Whatever gets it done, do it. I mean, don't worry about the rules. Don't worry about, this is not normally done, or this is what I got to do. Fuck that. Do whatever you do.
Yeah, and for me, it's not some moment of conceit. It's more so, okay, I'm singing a song about love or about hurt or about heartbreak. So I like to zone in on a person that's nearby or that's next to me, and in a sense use them as if I'm singing to them, and that's how I feed off of that energy.
Uh-huh.
And when I was working with a producer in the past, I actually sat in on one of his sessions, and he was telling me a story about Whitney Houston when he would record her. He told me that she would sing to him or other people in there, and those are always her best performances, capturing that rather than her just singing on her own, because she's fully capable of doing so. But when you're with an audience, when you're with people, because it's about being live, it's about capturing that emotion.
Absolutely. Like I said, and some people need that, and that's great. Like I'm not saying you have to do it a certain way. What I'm actually saying is the opposite. Do whatever you feel like is going to get the best out of you.
Exactly.
And so, Hallie, that's why when you sang the song "I Hate You So Much," you sang it to me?
How did you know? How did you know?
It was the passion.
Yeah.
It was the passion.
Yeah.
Claudio, you spoke about lush vocals. What are you doing to get lush? How do you get your lush vocals?
I don't know. I'll tweak it till it sounds lush.
So okay, yeah. So it's not like you have a specific. Hey, I got this lexicon. It's just lush.
The whole okay. Here's my philosophy when it comes to mixing. the cookbook approach, like you know how you can become a decent chef by buying a cookbook and following its instructions. Like you can put together a decent meal. Might not be the greatest meal in the world, but you know, if you follow exactly what the book says and you use that much salt and that much pepper, or whatever, you'll get a good meal. That doesn't work for me when it comes to mixing. Like I almost approach every song brand new, and I've tried this before. Like I you know, like sometimes I try like, okay, I'm gonna shortcut this. I'm gonna import the settings from the last mix for this song because it's the same singer or whatever. It never works. Like to me, I was like starting out with a clean slate. Like I do have, don't get me wrong, I do have a mixing template, but it's literally like a routing template. It's really not settings. Yeah, and you know, like I'm on one song I might use like a shitty spring reverb. On the next song I might use a 480. Like it's never the same. I'm very much a feel guy. I'm very much I do like I mix from my gut. I almost feel like whatever feels right for the song. I always try to approach it that way. And I'm a big believer in keeping it simple. Like I always like I'll talk to young cats that are like starting out mixing, and they start talking about parallel compression and blah 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 blah. Dude, try to get your levels right. Try to get your basic balance right before you do anything else. Before you even touch an EQ or a compressor. You know what I mean? And then learn what different compressors do. I feel like compressors are probably the most powerful tool we have, but they're also the most misunderstood and most abused tool we have. Like, yeah, like Dave Pensado will disagree with me on this, but I feel like the Word would be a better sounding place without the Wave Cell too. That to me is the most, like I get, you know, because I get sessions for me to mix, but they already tried to do, or they did the rough mix themselves, or tried to mix it themselves, and I get a session, there's 22 L2s on the session, and I'm like, dude, of course it sounds like crap. Of course it sounds this small. There's no more dynamic there. There's no more room to breathe. Like, it's all about, for me, it's all about like creating a three-dimensional space. Like to me, compression will bring things to the front. It will provide impact. Like I look at it that way. Like, and if you do that to every track in your song, then what's the contrast? You know what I mean? There's no more contrast. It's all pushed to the front, and it doesn't become big. It becomes small.
And do you think learning like compression and reverb, that's it takes a while to understand how it really works?
I've been mixing almost every day for 26 years, and I still haven't figured it all out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what keeps my job interesting too, because I learn new shit every day. But try simple. Try like, instead of using 20 different compressors, use like 2 and really learn this. Like really learn what a Renaissance compressor does, what different settings do. What happens when you use automatic release versus manual release. What you know, like really learn your tools and realize what it does to your sound. You're gonna be way more. You're going to be way better with your mixes when you know and understand your tools, even if you use a lot less tools. And then, you know, okay, now I really know what the like the 1176 does and what the Renaissance compressor does. Let's bring another one into the equation. Let's bring the LA2A into the equation. Now let me really learn that one. Let me really learn the difference between when I put the compressor versus the limit switch and stuff like that.
You think a lot of up and coming engineers, they just grab a certain plugin because a certain engineer used that plugin?
Absolutely, and it doesn't work.
I mean, when I first started, I probably cracked everything, but now I just use stock stuff. Everybody's like, "What you mixing with?" The stock plugins that come in Logic or Pro Tools is whatever gets the job done.
I guarantee you can give a song to Dave, and he can mix it with just the stock plugins, and it will sound better than anything all of us could do together. You know what I mean? Like I said, like coming back to the cookbook analogy, is like if there was a way where you could just like, hey, you take a kick and you add 3 dB at 100 hertz and you add you know, 4-to-1 compression with so and so and this attack. If that will work, somebody would have wrote a book by now, and you could just follow that, and you have a great mix. But it doesn't work like that. You really have to learn the tools. You really have to listen. Like I do this in every mix I do. When I feel like I'm done with the mix, I turn my screens off and listen to the mix without the monitor, like without the computer monitors on, because that makes me stop looking at the fucking meters and at the gain reduction and all the shit that's going on. And I'm actually listening to the music. And that gives me more of an insight than anything I'm looking at. And I feel like a lot of people like don't do that. Like a lot of people like they're so like
depending on the meter.
Also meters and looking at their EQ curves and shit like that. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Just listen to the music.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Massey's got a great plugin. It's called Listen.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. It just turns the screen black. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And then also, do you mix in mono?
Yeah, I definitely check in mono. I'm very good at hearing shit out of phase. I'm probably not as much as most people.
Is there like a switch? I mean, is there like a plug-in or something that?
Yeah, there's a few plugins that do that.
I'm saying to where you can check your mix in mono.
But what I do a lot. See this little speaker right here? It's a little Jawbone. It's like $50 on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most important speaker I have. I mean, I got $6,000 KRKs. I got $5,000 Westlakes. I got NS10s with a Bryston. This tells me more than any of those speakers.
Was that a ghetto blaster?
If I get it to sound right on this, if my balances are right, if I can hear everything on this little ass speaker, I'll switch to the big ones, and it just, oh wow, this sounds fucking incredible. So I'll say I'm definitely on this thing 40 to 50% of the time I'm mixing this on. I don't necessarily EQ on here, but I do balances on here a lot. And just overall vibe. And, yeah.
Okay, that's what's up.
We about what 10, 15 of us. I found a speaker for $10 at what was it, guys? Big Lots.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, man, about 10, 15 of us went. I have 5 of them. I'm going to get me some more.
Yeah, dude, like, because nobody these days is listening to music on $10,000 speakers, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I got some computer speakers that I done had for 10 years. That's what I mainly use.
And as much as I fucking hate these beats, although I shouldn't say that, they gave them to me, but like I gotta make sure it sounds right on here because half the motherfuckers walking around listening to music on beats. So I gotta make sure it sounds good on here. You know what I mean? Even if I don't like the way they sound necessarily.
I sat and watched one of my guys mix on a laptop, speakers and beats, and that shit was dope. But Bob Horn, I forget either they're Awesome Burgers or however you say that word. And whatever those speakers are like 15. It was a lot, whatever it was. Like, crazy amount of money.
They're like starting at like 30 grand. They're starting.
Yeah. He's sitting there saying his price, and I'm looking at him like, man, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, but I mean, his mixes are. His mixes are dope. Like, it's dope. You know, he has some outboard gear that's dope. Like Eric Rossi has one of his pieces. But I'm sitting here like, God damn, Bob, like all that, cause I got $10 speakers. We had the JBL 1,200, 1,600, whatever speakers. I forget what the nomenclature is. You know, I've got some $300. I got several speakers, but that much money on some speakers. But like I said, when we found those, you were talking about, we found those $10 speakers, bro. We went crazy. Everybody was buying those speakers, and then posting pictures of them. They work. What's cracking?
Bro, I found them at Five Below, man. $5, man. Bro. 5 and below, bro.
Why are you busting my bubble, bro? I was feeling good. There's a store called $5 and below, huh?
5 Below, bro.
Do y'all ever use Bluetooth speakers?
Yes, sir.
Like I've been using my Bluetooth speakers lately.
Well, the little speaker, the Jawbone I showed you, that's actually a Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
Well, I used to line in
Hey, do you ever whenever you gotta mix a song with a sample in it, like how do you approach? I know it's on a
No,
sample
look for
session to
those.
session basis, but how do you approach mixing the sample with the rest of the record?
It depends on the role that sample has. If the sample is like the main part of the song, and like like a lot of times it's a sample, a kick and a snare, and maybe a couple of keyboards around it. Obviously, I'll spend some time on that sample. Just once again, trying to give it a vibe and trying to make it work and trying to have it integrated with the rest of the song. But like I said, it comes again to the thing like sometimes I compress it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I multi-band compress it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I put a bunch of crazy shit, distortion, wideners, God knows what on it. Sometimes I don't do anything at all. Like it really depends what my gut tells me, what my ears tell me.
Gotcha.
And like I said, I approach every mix like that. Like I don't have a go-to like say, oh, like this one I'm going to do to this vocal. Like I'm going to use this EQ and this compressor and this reverb. I never do that.
Yeah, 'cause I just well, I've been sampling from vinyl for a minute, and the other day I was sampling something, and I was like, why can't I use a wide on? Come to find out, my dumb ass is over here sampling in mono. So I had to go to Radio Shack. They trying to make me buy all these cords that total up to like $50 just to have another input, and I just went to Walmart and just bought another RCA to instrument jack for like $5.
Yeah. Yeah, Amazon is your friend if you need to buy cords. Really cheap and good quality shit on there.
Man, you ain't never lie. You can, man, Amazon taking over.
Speaking
Y'all,
of
you guys,
samples and sampling, what are you actually tracking at as far as your sample rates?
Who, me?
Well, since I'm
Oh,
mixing, I do it. Whatever you're sending me, and I don't convert it to anything. I try to always leave it at whatever it got sent to me, unless you're sending me a 192 session, then I'll bring it down to like 96 or something. But honestly, man, like I'm totally okay working in 48 or 44.1, especially if it's any type of urban pop rock. If it's if it's some classical thing or jazz or something, like I can see the benefit of a higher sample rate. But for most shit that we are doing, I don't hear. I've tried it before where I did a mix at 96 and then converted the whole session down to 44.1 and printed the mix again and then compared the two and blind compared it, and I can't hear a fucking difference. And difference I hear is not always like, oh, the 96 one is better. You know what I mean? Like it's so subtle and so like I'm not advocating against it, but there's so many other things. Like I can't tell you how many times I got a 96K session where all the fucking vocals were distorted.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have you not distort the vocals and record in 44.1, 16-bit, than give me a 96, 24-bit session and your shit's distorted. It's so backwards. There's so many great, like, look, when we first started using the Sony 3248s, those were all 16-bit 48. And there's tons and tons and tons of great sounding records were cut on those. So I don't see, like, once again, I'm a little different than most people. I don't really see the limitation in digital. I remember the limitation in analog where you had a 2-inch reel and you worked on a project for 6 months, and after 6 months, all your high end was gone off the 2-inch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't miss that. There's definite benefits to analog. I mean, there's if I have to budget and the right project, I love recording analog. But I have no problem. I have no problem with digital in any way, shape, or form. Being it the board, being it mixing in the box, or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had a preference for like 44 or 88 or.
No, not really. Honestly, like if I do a project, it's usually 48/24.
Is that mainly because you're doing a lot of video, or is that mainly because you're doing a lot of stuff to video?
Just because I always kind of done that. Because when Ditch first came out, like the machines, we usually ran them at 48. And yeah, I mean, like sometimes I don't check. Sometimes it's a 44.1. Like I said, I have no problem either way. I'm not. I feel like I can make it sound great either way. Yeah. What I'm much more concerned with, like if I get session, is like that are tracks that are labeled and it's recorded somewhat decent, versus what sample rate or bit depth it was done in.
Do you still got all your MPCs?
I still got a 3000.
So what made you update to the Renaissance? Like you don't care, it doesn't matter to you, like far as analog drums versus
No,
digital drums.
I love all the additional functionality it has. I love the integration with the computer. I love how easy it is to get sounds in and out of it. I mean, dude, with the 3000, I gotta use zip disks, which is a huge pain in the ass.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like, and it sounds great. Like I said, out of the thousands of kick sounds I have, it sounds great. Yeah, like, will I once in a blue moon dig out the 3000 and do something with that for nostalgic reasons? Yeah, absolutely, it's fun. You know, it's like driving a vintage car. It's fun.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's why I want one. I mean, because some of my favorite producers, like I said, I'm big on the LA scene. Some of them still use like ASR 10s and MPCs, but they don't just make it in there. They work directly into Pro Tools. So while they're working, they're tracking like piece by piece.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I'm not knocking that. Like I said, like to me, I don't care what you use, man. Whatever works for you. I don't knock people that use Cubase on the PC. If that's what works for you and that's your workflow, by all means do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not.
You just strictly like Pro Tools.
Pro Tools for recording and mixing. If I create, I'm usually in Logic actually.
Logic 9 or 10?
More and more 10 these days, but I'm still using 9 too.
Yeah, I didn't like I like the updates they just got, but I'm mainly in 9. So.
Yeah,
I'm feeling you. I'm going to 10 more myself.
Yeah, when 10 first came out, I didn't like it at all, and I'm still using 9 a lot too. But I'm starting to use 10 more and more. I'm starting to get used to it, and I'm starting to rely on certain things that you can only do with 10 that you can't do with 9.
Like what?
Well, some of the like the new soft synths that come with it.
Oh yeah.
Or, you know, stuff like that. There's some things that I miss that 9 has that 10 doesn't have. I forgot like the way you can like sort your sounds is different. There's a few things I can't remember right now, but there's a few things that bug me in 10. They're like, why the hell did they change this, or why the hell did they take this away? So
yeah,
I have a little love-hate relationship with it, but
I mean I have them all because in school they make you get them all.
Right.
And I just feel like they all got their own characteristics now. If Fruity Loops, if all of them had Fruity Loops drum sequencer, it would make life just, oh man, everybody would be singing Kumbaya right now. And there wouldn't be no war on what program you need to use to make a beat on. Because, man, if y'all ain't used Fruity Loops before, y'all need to at least use it to program drums. It is ridiculous how you can program drums in Fruity Loops.
The problem I have with Fruity Loops is I feel like I'm cheating when I use Fruity Loops.
That's what I'm, man, listen. you can program, man, you can make 20 beats in like 4 hours in Fruity Loops.
I'm not working to my full potential.
But I mean, I've engineered sessions for like other producers, so I've watched them. Like some might use Logic or they use Ableton, but they program their drums in Fruity Loops, and then they'll go back to Logic.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking Fruity Loops at all. I think, like I said, like I have kids come in here, 16-year-olds and shit with Fruity Loops with some of the most incredible shit you ever heard. So, I'm not knocking any of it. I love the fact how accessible technology is to everybody. I love the fact that pretty much every kid has a laptop and basically can make music. You know what I mean? Like, when I started out, you needed to go to a real studio. You needed to have money to make music. Like, it's not like that anymore. And I like the fact that it became democratized and everybody can do it. It's just a lot of people shouldn't be doing it because they don't have the talent. But like, who am I to knock your dreams? You know what I mean?
But that's super dope. You can go to Guitar Center and they have a studio in a box, and it's everything you need to get your ideas off the ground.
For every 1,000 or 10,000 people that are doing that and making garbage, there's one kid that does brilliant stuff. That couldn't be doing that if it wasn't for this. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You saying you like that? You know you're losing cool points with your peers, right?
What?
You saying
I was
that
gonna.
you like
I
people
said
having access?
I love it.
No,
No.
yeah, but
No, I'm saying
but
no.
him
I
saying
love that he's saying. No, I love the fact that he's saying it because he doesn't understand
Right.
that he's the only person I've ever heard say like agree that it's cool that technology is the way that it is right now.
I totally feel like it. I totally agree with this.
a lot of your peers have done a lot of bitching.
Hey,
And I'm
hey,
fully
there's
in
no
support
rules
of
to
it.
this. Hey, it's no rules to this, as he say, Mark.
Exactly.
No rules.
Man, some of my favorite albums was made in the living room.
Hey.
So I'm just saying.
Hey,
Exactly.
Bob Marley whole collection was done in the living room.
Right. Yeah.
There's hey Ben, you just arrived. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks.
Unmute yourself and say hello.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Happy
Hey.
holidays.
Good.
Same to you, bro.
Happy
You
holidays.
got any questions, Ben?
I do. I have a couple, man. Can I just thank you for having me again? Really appreciate it. I got a couple questions. This is for everybody on the forum. I got this artist that I'm working with, and they want to do we're about to do an EP, and they want to do studio snippets, like get some shots of the girl singing and putting clips out to start building her following before the EP comes out. So I'm just wondering if any of you guys have any kind of ideas on the best approach to having multicam set up in a studio where you could press a button and capture whatever is happening in the studio at any moment. Does anybody found any good solutions for that?
I mean, whenever we did stuff like that, we just used GoPros. I feel like that's super easy and super simple to do.
Yeah, one digital camera, a GoPro. What's that new app? Paramount.
So you basically put the GoPros up everywhere, and then you have a remote, and you can just click a button, and there you go.
Just record, and like we have 128 gig cards in there. Just record till they fill up.
And those are about the GoPros are about a couple hundred a pop.
Yeah, here in LA you can rent them for almost nothing if you need multiple ones. You can definitely find them. If you want to go the used route, you can find them for like $100, $150. I think new they're like $400. I think. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Cool, thank you, I appreciate it. So here's my question. I have a question on preamps. Maybe you could help me understand the components a little bit of a preamp. I have a couple of Neves, and I have a couple really nice high-end preamps, and then I have to augment it, so I'm going to go for some more consumer level preamps. But I never quite understood the technology of a preamp and what would make a $100 preamp versus a $2,000 preamp, and what sonic characteristics really happen. Where's the difference in the circuitry, and then how?
You know what? No, I don't design mic pre's. I just use them.
Okay, you don't know the inner workings.
No, and I have no.
Joe,
just
Joe Rossetti, Dave Hampton.
Right.
Those dudes, nerdy about that, bro. They can tell you. Joe Rossetti might post some white papers on that stuff for you, bro.
Yeah,
and he would happily do it.
I'm not smart enough for that. I just listen to it. If it sounds good, I use it.
And all I ever hear him say is, what are those transformers? Jensen transformers and some tube.
Right.
But yeah, Joe Vassetti, bro.
Yeah, I'd like to just understand some basic elements of the differences.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's definitely, yeah, like I said, like I know enough about it that I don't know anything about it, so I don't want to talk about it.
And the only thing I can say is there's gear where you would want to replace power supplies, get a higher quality power supply. Dave Hampton kept saying Jensen transformers, and I know that like specs on resistors, you say somebody has a tight spec, but your specs are like this, real loose. There's so much variation on your components, like resistors, caps. The companies that have tighter specs, you get, you know, a more accurate, you know, consistent result. But nah, yeah, Joe Vassetti, bro, I'm telling you, Joe Vassetti, this is a commercial for you, bro. You and Dave Hampton, that's y'all's gig. No joke.
There are a couple of good online programs. Also, check out your local community college and get into a basic electronics course. That's where I started, was with vacuum tube theory and all the way through transistors and digital technology and all that kind of good stuff. There are some pretty good online sources for different universities and community colleges.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. That's all I got. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
I thought you were about to ask some deep philosophical Ben Crane's question.
I just get on everybody. I got to get on everybody's nerves when I say that stuff. So I remember somebody told me I was too cool for school or something.
Nah, man, bring your questions. It's all good.
Especially he's sitting there rubbing his beard. He's sitting there rubbing his beard. I thought he was going to say a lot. I'm looking like, oh, I'm ready for this.
Yeah, because he always comes with these questions. I'm like, yeah, come on, bring it. And he started asking some nerdy stuff.
Nerdy stuff? Is that what you said?
No, I said this time you came in asking a real nerdy stuff, a nerdy question where we're like, huh? Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, I get lost, man. I get lost with the conversations about the DAWs and the preamps. I mean, I really do, because none of it writes a good song, and a song comes from life experience, and technology really, to me, has nothing to do with any of it whatsoever. So, but I try to hang and listen to the discussions and try to, you know, understand where people are coming from. But even like for me, the idea of a beat gets confusing, because a beat, like drums are cool, but nobody really remembers anything about a beat. They just remember the chorus of a song, basically. That's what the listeners remember. And they, you know, like, can anybody sing me the beat on the Beatles, All You Need Is Love?
I can sing you the beat of Billie Jean.
Well, I can sing the whole part. Like what you're saying, is like definitely memorable guitar riffs.
I mean, melodies. People don't remember melodies, too.
There's memorable drum parts to me, definitely. Yeah.
I know that there are elements of the beat, quote unquote, that people remember, but really they don't. The average consumer doesn't. They take in the music like it's like
yeah, they whistle the melody. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the hook and the melody. Yeah, like I remember the whole, was it The Police, Roxanne? Everybody remember that guitar riff.
Right.
But like the whole idea of selling a beat or making beats and selling them.
You know why I disagree with you? Like when like Ray's song comes on, after 1 second of hearing the first bar, you're hype on that song because that synth line or the music gets you. Like that's part of the song, and that's just as important as the hook.
Yeah, no, I agree, but here's where I'm having a hard time. Like, people sell beats, they make a beat in the living room. It's completely devoid of what the lyricist is going to put down or what somebody's going through in their life, and then people writing to a track. I understand it's how it's done, but I just feel like it's great to write a song and then come up with music to support those lyrics and that melody, and then it's like a marriage. It's like
I agree with you on that, but that still happens. I've seen rap sessions where the producer was making music with the artist there, and they're going back and forth. Yeah.
Oh, that's the only way I got to do it.
Like actually, a lot of sessions happen like that. What you're talking about, people selling beats, that's not, you know, like, yeah, that happens, but that doesn't really happen on the big level, I feel like.
I understand.
I respect that, and I say that all the time. Yes.
I mean, and most of the times when cats do sell beats to major artists, those artists bring those beat makers in,
right?
And then they'll expand on the beat. It's never, oh, I'm gonna just sell this beat and that's pretty much it. Right. It'll never be like that.
I can tell you without a doubt, a person can make a beat in a bubble and give it to somebody, and it ends up being dope. A lot of these beats that you're hearing, Ben, where the song is done, say you have a dope beat. Most of these artists suck. Just reality. So if, say you're an artist and your rhythm sucks, the way say you're doing, your vocal is sort of melodic but not melodic, and that's driving somebody crazy, that sucks. Like there's no value of entertainment to you, and you get on these beats, or the beat is doing something and you're doing something else. It's like you're not even listening to the beat, and that happens a lot. And so people get on these beats and destroy these beats. Then you take Biggie and you give him a simple boom bap, or just tell him to rap a cappella, and the shit is dope.
Right.
See, so it's that artist getting with that beat. Yeah. And some music you walk in and that shit's emotional.
Hey, you
and
said the key word. You said the key word. Right. You see, you get me. But hold on. There's some music you walk in. Yeah, you walk in and the music's emotional, and the artist will listen to it. And like I'll work on the artist being sensitive to the music and what's going on, and maybe and even teaching artists to listen to the chord progression. Where, hey, is it going up? Is it going down now? And like following, right? But so you come in and this music is emotional, and these artists, some of them will listen, tune in, and it'll strike something, say, from their past, like, hey, this is making me feel like when my mom died, or something, or reminds me of my little puppy that I used to have in my lap on the hangout. It's.
I'm a drummer, so I understand like the importance of the groove and the beat, and I'm not hating on the beats or the beat makers. I just think that as a drummer, it's like I like to come up with a drum pattern that tells like that.
Yes, part of the story. I get it.
Part of the story, yeah. Like I'll get a lyric or I'll hear something that's the story, and that's gonna drive my decisions on how to make a drum pattern. So
but you can work the other way around too. It can also inspire a story. Like if there's a really, really dope beat, you can inspire somebody to come up with certain things.
I learned something from a producer friend of mine, producer Cueni. He would sit and do all the melodic stuff and no beat, and add the beat last. And I was like, bro, why do you do that? And he said the beat restricted him. He could get more emotional. Now, the black culture, man, beats. We'll sit beat on tables, beatbox, beat on our chest, do the hand bone, and do stuff. So like it's if you say nobody hums a melody, no, we don't. I mean, nobody hums beats or whatever. No, we beatbox. Like we'll be in the shower.
Okay,
I'll be in the shower butt naked, beating on the wall and stuff like whatever. Like,
and people are so intrigued by beatboxing. I was in Nashville at the mall, and I was at the store, and there was a few Asian kids in there, and we beatbox so much that we don't even realize we beatbox. And I was beatboxing, and it was a kid staring at me, and I didn't realize it before I left the room. He was trying to teach himself how to beatbox. Like I watched him try to, form his mouth to like make a kick or a snare sound with his mouth. But yeah, I mean,
bro,
no matter.
Hey, yeah,
I made my best beat
natural, man.
On the Megabus.
Hey, bro, I used to date somebody, man, back in the day, and she was like, "Why do you always make those noises?" I'm talking about when I was 18, because I've been playing drums all my life, and I didn't even know. I was just, just doing it. It's natural.
That's our culture, man. And some of the beats, what's cool is some of the beats have melody. And that's pretty cool. Like when you like the beats with melody, it's like, hey. And one of the fun things for me, Ben, is to make a beat and tell the artist, okay, use this dope beat. Like you know how Dr. Dre come on and makes you bob your head, the beat. I tell the artist, use a drum groove that's making them bob their head. That's the vocal groove. And then the vocal is moving them like a beat would. And man, but anyway, I understand what you're saying fully. Yeah, we got you. We all understand it. But man, don't underestimate that beat.
No, I love the beat. Good beats are great, man. I'm not hating on beats, but it just seems backwards because in Africa, the drums they speak. That everything is telling a story. So it is a language. So I'm not saying the drums don't speak, but they do tell a story. You know what I mean? And so it's just go ahead.
We just have a big problem right now with a lot of people sucking and not putting in the work to be good. Like I actually put in more work on artists than they put in on themselves, and it drives me crazy. And so Claudio to sit here and say, oh well, no, I got these stellar singers. I'm sitting there like, oh man, you lucky mofo, because that is not my situation. So I'm gonna go down there and kick it with him so I can see what he's talking about.
I'm gonna put a SoundCloud like this girl I just told you about, Tiffany Boucher. Like she makes her own beats, writes her own shit, records herself. All I'm doing is mixing. You know what I mean? Those are the dream artists. Also, those are the artists that do the dopest shit. You know, where it's like the full-on package. So yeah, but I'm blessed in that way that I get to work with people like that. I get it. I totally get it.
And I'll get an artist coming in swearing a beat is great, and it sounds like crap. It's like, bro, this is off. The quantizing ain't. It's nothing. It's garbage. Like, ain't no groove, nothing. And they're swearing it's dope, and they want me
Or
to
do you
work
bring
on
an
it.
MP3 for you to mix with?
There are some MP3s that actually sound pretty damn good, but when they bring in the crappy ones and then want me to make it sound stellar, I had to send them off to Ben.
Absolutely.
Straight to Ben Cranes.
Yeah,
I
man.
love beats, man. Don't get me wrong. Beats are cool. But okay, then let me ask one more controversial question. Why is
See, I
it
like
called,
when Ben comes on and does this. I like you, Ben. I like you, bro.
why is it called? Why is it called beats? Why isn't it called just music? If there's melody and all the elements, I mean, I'm a drummer, so isn't a beat like a drum beat? Like, so if you're making music, why not just call it? What's that?
Only if you're white.
Say it again.
Only if you're white.
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's, yeah, see.
It's a culture thing. It's a culture thing. I hate it too, but it's just a culture thing. That's never gonna go nowhere. Like, you can't boycott that. Trust me, I've tried it. I want people to just say production or instrumental. I hate beats, but it's to the point where either you roll with it or you just gonna be annoyed by it.
Honestly,
Trust me.
let me put it this way. I don't mind that the dude with the laptop calls himself a beat maker, because Quincy Jones is a producer. You making beats on Fruity Loops, you're not a producer. So I'm glad they actually
Distinguish, yeah.
From that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and a producer is not a beat maker. Producing has nothing to do with beat making.
It can.
Song producer.
I mean, no, no,
He
yeah.
may or may not.
Yeah, there's definitely producers that are beat makers. Like Kanye can produce and make a beat.
Well, you can produce a beat, produce a song, produce a vocalist. So what do we have? Do you see now?
You can make a beat. You can make a beat like a mock-up. Like, okay, this is how everything's just scratch tracks. Then you can go get the musicians you want and have them play what you need.
Yeah.
So I look at that. That's in my eyes, that's producing.
Yep.
Just like Puff Daddy never touched the track, but he had direction. So
Right.
that made him a producer.
Right.
It all depends, but there's definitely a difference between a producer and a beat maker, because a beat maker can't get in a room full of musicians or vocalists and give direction. They just know how to make the beat.
Right.
But I definitely get where you're coming from. Yeah. So, but I hate that word beat though. I've always hated it.
Yeah, I do too. But it's okay.
Yeah, it's life. We move
Like
on.
when you build a house, when a contractor builds a house from start to finish, all the elements that go into it, the foundation, the kitchen, the hot tub, the finishing, the woodwork, the contractor, the guy that's doing the whole thing, that's the equivalent of a producer. They're putting the whole thing together. The beat maker is like the guy that's doing
A subcontractor.
Yeah, it's the guy that does the framing on the house.
Right.
Now, what form of music are we talking about? Because I know people who hire musicians, don't know anything about music, and
All
they
forms.
can afford the people, and those people they start playing, and it just sounds dope. And he's okay, that's a win, that's it. And that person's a producer, called a genius, but really all they got is the money to pay to put the right people together.
Every kind of, it works the same in every kind of music, like just every kind of house or anything you're going to build. There's somebody that takes it from the beginning, middle, end through the whole process, and they might do all the work themselves, or they might hire people out, or they might do none of the work and just do the paperwork on the back end. That's a producer.
But I'm saying, like, you can't make. We must be talking about hip hop, because in rock music you don't hear a beat maker making the rock record and then presenting it to the band and saying, okay, this is what y'all gonna play. They usually have like someone in the band is usually the band leader, and they have a producer give them a sense of direction.
You might check that out with like Prince or something. He does that differently.
I mean, cause Prince is Prince, man. Like,
if Claudio walks in with some money, they gonna do what the hell Claudio say. If Claudio brings in a beat that Gavin made and says y'all getting such amount of money to remake, they gonna do whatever.
Like be any rules, there shouldn't be any rules. Like fuck it.
I mean, I've had different type of sessions where one I couldn't say I produced it, but I mean, in hip hop you still get the credit if you made the beat. It's still gonna say produced by. I had sessions where they wanted me to give them the beat, and then I had sessions where they called me to come to the studio to actually produce the record, which threw me off because that's rare, but it still happens though.
Now, one question to you, Gavin: when you make your beats, are you arranging to where there's a verse, chorus, all of that stuff?
Always.
We'll see.
At first, the main thing is to get the melody out and then to get the drums out, and then I arrange it in a format where it's going to formulate a song. But nowadays, you can't just make the beat. I gotta sing a hook, or I gotta send it to a songwriter. So it has to be. There's no such thing as just a beat no more. It's a package. It's gonna have to have the written song to it. It's gonna have to already have an A1 mix to it.
Okay, so what's wrong with you getting production credits for that? You know, and you may share song production credits, but what's wrong with you getting production credits for that?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I'm piggybacking off him when he's saying like beat makers and producers. When I say I'm just giving someone just a beat, then I don't feel like I produced anything because I wasn't there giving any direction. I don't have any creative input. I'm not a part of nothing. I just gave you a foundation to start your idea off of.
But you make all the creative decisions of the track, which is a huge.
But they won't let you get the creative decisions of the overall record.
So then I think that's like whatever the credit, how it breaks down. I think in that case you're really a co-producer because you're not taking it to the end, but there is production involved when you're making all those decisions on how the music's supposed to be. Nobody's telling you how to do that.
Okay, so now, what's the difference between that and a beat maker then?
Well, that's.
Now I'm confused.
It's the difference between off the rack or custom made.
Right.
True. Oh, very true.
Now, some of these beats, it's just a loop. Some guys, like Redman, just gets on a loop. Well, yeah, nobody else did nothing. Well, then, okay, you're the producer because it was just a beat, and he rapped over the beat. So that's a simple song. But a lot of this stuff really...
It was more simple, too, though, right? Like, I mean, half of Biggie's early stuff, like Ready to Die, majority of that was just a loop. Like, it really didn't have no arrangement.
Okay.
But it's my favorite. I mean, that's my favorite kind. You said what?
Yeah, well, see.
I mean, it's
What'd you say, Claudio?
It's the one interpretation.
And looping. That's still production, you know.
Hey, Claudio, this happens all the time when Ben comes in. That's why I like him coming in.
I was trying to go lightweight today, man.
Did you see how the whole room just shifted? I'm still over here trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Like, damn, what happened?
I was trying to go lightweight, man. I asked my preamp question. I was just gonna keep my mouth shut, man.
What's your favorite preamp?
Man, what's my favorite preamp? Well, I'd have to say I love the way APIs sound. Not necessarily on vocals, but there's something that API does with like.
You're a drummer. That makes total sense. APIs still on drums.
I never heard anything sound so amazing on drums. APIs just.
You're made for one another.
And they sound great on guitars too. But for a vocal, I think you can't beat Neve.
Yeah. I agree.
Focusrite pre's sound pretty cool. They're transparent, but there's so many companies making so many pre's, man. I'd love to just sit in a room for like 20 days and just A/B every preamp on the market. That would be fun.
That drove me crazy, bro. There's so many good tools. My brain now is simply, okay, I want to be able to grab the cheapest mic, the cheapest pre, but work on this artist where that artist is so good that it doesn't matter what we use. And then I'll go to one of you guys. I don't even want to claim engineering. I go to one of you guys.
My thing is I want to use whatever's available, and sometimes it forces you to use stuff you wouldn't necessarily use, and it a lot of time makes for happy accidents.
Yeah, they're like, man, where'd you get that color? Yeah, I had an art tube that was broke.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. Man, what plugin did you use for that distortion, man? Dude, that mic was fucked up. But yeah, sounds great.
Yeah.
I got to track a band tomorrow, so I needed some extra channels, so I just picked up one of those Focusrite Octopre's just to have 8 additional channels, and I haven't heard it yet, so I'm just curious because you get a lot of bang for your buck on those.
Yeah, those are actually pretty fucking good. You gotta be. I mean, they're not me, but they look. I gotta bounce in like 10 minutes, but I'm gonna post the SoundCloud link for this artist Tiffany Goucher I told you guys about. Now, this was the thing that was recorded with the Mojave and the Scarlett interface, USB interface. Just so you guys can check it out. Like I said, like people are afraid sometimes, like, oh shit, I don't have my Neve mic pre, I can't record. Fuck that, dude. Use whatever you have. You know, because at the end of the day, it's
your ears.
It's really like this technology now, man. Like even like the cheaper stuff is so fucking good. Yeah.
So they sound good, the Octopre's?
I used them before. They sound decent. I like the ones having the newer interfaces in the Scarlett. I like those better. But dude, it's not going to stop you from making a great record.
Damn striggity.
You know what I mean? Like we used in the 80s, all we used was like the shitty SSL mic pre's. On every fucking 80s record you hear, 90% of those were fucking recorded on SSL E-Series. Yeah. It didn't stop anybody from making music and recording music.
Would you consider yourself you just a get the job done guy? You're not big on trying to find this, that, and the third. Just whatever works.
If I have the luxury to do it, I will do it in a heartbeat. Don't get me wrong. Like the problem is most of the time that gets in the way of creativity, and I will absolutely refuse to let anything get in the way of creativity. I feel like that's way more important than me trying out 20 different mic pre's. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I have enough experience where I can pretty much walk into any studio and get the sound I want, no matter what tools are there. Or at least get there like 98%. Yeah. But my number one priority is always not getting into the way of the creativity. Yeah. Because like I said, like nobody's going to buy your record because you use an Neve mic pre to record the vocals. You're not going to sell one extra record. You're not going to get one extra, YouTube play or SoundCloud stream because you use a certain microphone.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on my album cover next time. Like, I'm gonna put the bottom recorded with Neve. See what it does. Like, bro, he used a Neve.
And I'm not saying that's not important, or if you have the tools, don't use them. No, of course. Use the best tools you have available, but don't let that stop you from recording music. Yeah. Because like I said, even the cheap shit we have now, dude, is so fucking good.
I mean, I look after the LA beat scene because they using like rolling 404s and actually recording the reel-to-reels and cassette tapes. And they don't. And some of them don't even sample off vinyl; they sample off cassette tapes.
Yeah. And some people don't. Some people sample off YouTube. You know what I mean? Like,
it don't matter.
It matters and it don't matter. It matters for whatever you're trying to achieve. If I feel like this song needs a sample coming off of vinyl, yeah, I'm going to sample it off of vinyl. But maybe this song needs a sample coming off a shitty MP3, you know? Or maybe I only have the sample available as a shitty MP3. Now I'm not going to create the song because I don't have a vinyl version of it. No, fuck no, I'm still going to do it. And I'm going to find a creative way to make that MP3 work.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Next thing you know, he's adding drums from his MPC.
Right.
And he's going to call in a few musicians.
The best way I can sum it up, because I got to go in a little bit, I'm sorry, is I got into music because it was fun. And what we're doing, it can be either stressful and you can pull your hair out, or you can appreciate it and have fun with it. And there's certain things, like I said, like driving a vintage car, like a vintage sport car is fun. It's always using a vintage MPC. Sometimes I strictly do it because, you know what, it's fun. It's more fun using an MPC than using Logic. But sometimes I have a deadline that I got to fill out where I don't have time to pull out the MPC and load up zip drives and finding a SCSI court that's going to work and all that other shit that comes with it. Sometimes I just need to get the job done. And then you do whatever you need to do to get the job done. But have fun with this shit, man. Because if you have fun with it, it's going to show. I feel that's really, really important. And a lot of people lose sight of it.
I think I'm probably a heck of a lot older than anybody else in here. Go back and listen to Buddy Holly and the Crickets. You know, Buddy Holly and the Crickets. Their first record was done on a 1/4-inch reel-to-reel in a garage. You know.
Who made the beat?
So what?
With SM58.
Who made the beat? Who made the beat?
The drummer.
Love it.
Look, you go back and you listen to that stuff, man. It was a performance. It was a great song. It was a great performance, and you know, screw the technology. You know, you go back and you listen to some of the old Beatles stuff, and you know, the stuff that
they only had 3 tracks too.
Country, man. I mean, you know, it's the song. It's not the gear, man.
Well, who made the beat though? No, we ain't gonna have.
See, now we're gonna do that shit all week for the next month. Somebody gonna say something, and we're gonna say, "But who made the beat?" Who made the beat?
I'm listening to Rage Against the Machine when I get up here, and I'm just gonna try to figure out who made the beat. Like, that's it.
Who made all of Marvin Gaye's beats?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm done.
I really appreciate everybody, man. This was extremely fun for me.
And we appreciate you, bro. I was just about to say that. Thank you.
And anybody ever want to hit me up on Facebook, feel free. Not a problem.
All right, man. I'm finna hit you with my email, man, because I need.
Sometimes it takes a day for me to get back to people if I'm busy and shit, but I will always get back to you. Yeah, not a
I'll
problem.
be coming down there to visit you, but you can't be taking no day if I'm in town and I gotta leave. And
You know how we do. Yeah,
you turn my call 5 days later, I'll be like, man, I'm already back home.
Hell no.
He ain't one of them, is he? He don't do it like that, do it?
Oh shit, that's my calling. Hold on. Bro, we appreciate it. This was a fun hangout.
Hell yeah.
So y'all say your thanks and all that stuff, and then we'll see if Claudio, if you have any last words. After that, y'all say thank you.
Up is loud, man. That's all I got.
Appreciate that, man.
Appreciate it. Lots of good info.
Thanks, man.
You got any last words of wisdom or anything you want to say to us, bro?
Up is louder.
Up is louder. Yeah, just turn the volume up.
Up is louder.
All
right, y'all.
Peace.
Thanks a million again.
All right, bro. Thank you very much. John Witt, Tim Branham, Alexander Jovanovich, Charles Browder, and I think that's Matt Gelmini. Props to y'all sitting through this watching. But okay, so nothing else you got to say, Claudio, before we head out?
I'm good, man. I got to bounce. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, bro. And peace.
We'll talk soon. Peace.
All right.